professor of the Ninja Academy. By teaching, I can become stronger. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26: What to do if the teacher is too rebellious. You want me to leave, but you also want me to stop. This makes it difficult for me. Miyu looked at Izma with a smile. Can't you discuss it with me? Why don't we both take a step back? I won't be so demanding, and then you have to listen to me during class. Izma discussed with Miyu. It's not that he doesn't want to be taught, but he is just a little rebellious. He doesn't want to accept his old father's arrangement. No, it's not your problem that you have high demands. It's my lack of ability and I can't meet your requirements, so I'd better leave. Miyu listened to Izma's suggestion and turned around and left. Okay, you don't have to listen to me. Don't leave yet. Izma saw that Miyu was about to walk out of the backyard and hurriedly called him again. He was also convinced by Miyu. Then can we have class? Miyu asked with a smile. To deal with a rebellious student like Izma, you have to be more rebellious than him and defeat magic with magic. Forget it. That's it. What do you want to teach? Izma was at a loss for a while. In his imagination, he should be the one to persuade them to quit, and then Miyu would discuss with him, and he should take the initiative. Although he was indifferent to his identity and even a little disgusted, he had to admit that the identity of the son of Hokage did provide him with a lot of convenience. Miyu looked around and said, "Let's go outside for training." It's not very convenient here. Miyu and Biwako took Asuma out for training and took him to a small forest with a river. Let's test your chakra control ability first. Try climbing a tree. Miyu found a taller tree and said to Asuma, "Climbing a tree, that's easy. I'll climb it for you to see." Asuma rolled his eyes, smiled, and thought of a good idea. He walked through the thick and tall tree, without using chakra, but used his hands and feet to climb to the top of the tree like a flexible monkey. Asuma showed a smug expression and shouted, "Look at how fast I climbed the tree." Of course he knew what Miyu meant by climbing a tree, but he just didn't want to cooperate. On purpose, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was using a crystal ball to observe how Miyu would teach Asuma, fell silent and rubbed his forehead helplessly. Although his nickname was Monkey before, he had never done this before. What the hell was going on? You climb very fast, and your limbs are strong. Miyu was not as angry as Asuma imagined, but instead praised him with a smile. Then Miyu found a relatively slender tree, cut off the branches of the tree, and then poured oil on it. He smiled and looked at Asuma and said, "Just treat it as a warm-up, and start climbing the tree formally." Asuma looked at the bare thin tree like a stick, with oil still flowing on it, and couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Even if he was good at climbing, he couldn't climb up such a tree with his bare hands. It doesn't matter if you can't climb up. Admitting your own shortcomings is also a manifestation of courage. Miyu said leisurely. Who can't climb up? Don't underestimate me. Asuma, a 9-year-old kid who just graduated, couldn't stand this stimulation. He directly attached chakra to his feet and walked steadily to the top of the tree. Your control ability is pretty good. Miyu nodded, not too surprised. Then Miyu took Asuma to the river. Since climbing trees is no problem, let's try to walk on water. Miyu pointed to the river and continued to test Asuma's chakra control ability. After all, except for some gifted people, ordinary people have only so much chakra, and improving the utilization rate is a good way to enhance strength. If you can stand on the water for 10 minutes without falling into the water this time, you can train whatever you want in the future. Miyu came up with a condition to motivate Asuma. You said it. Don't regret it, Asuma said with a happy face. He was still thinking about how to deal with this hateful teacher, but he didn't expect Miyu to take the initiative to offer a flaw. Isn't it just treading water? It may be a little difficult for other newly graduated genin, but it's normal for Asuma. Asuma gathered chakra on his feet with a confident look, walked to the river, and walked leisurely on the river. The river was not big, only 20 meters wide. That damn old man, his control desire is too strong. He has already graduated and become a ninja, but he still wants to find a tutor. Asuma muttered. He was looking forward to going home and telling the third-generation tutor that the teacher had agreed to let him train freely. Suddenly, Asuma felt something was wrong. He looked down and found that the originally calm river surface suddenly became turbulent. Water style, water dragon bullet technique. Asuma looked again and found that it was Miyu who performed the water style ninjutsu on the shore, creating a water dragon that shuttled back and forth in the river and rolled, making the river water turbulent. "Oh, what are you doing?" A splash of water was raised, and Asuma almost lost control and fell into the water. He couldn't help but say, "Help you simulate the battle scene." "The river water will not be as calm as usual during the battle," Miyu said with a smile. "By the way, I'll practice water escape myself. There are rivers and trees here, which is a good environment for practicing water escape. Of course, if you think it's not possible, Asuma, I can stop. After all, admitting your own shortcomings is also a manifestation of wisdom." Miyu used the same trick again. Asuma swallowed what he wanted to say. He just wanted to prove that he could do it, and he didn't need a tutor or the arrangement of the third generation to do it. Of course, he couldn't admit that he couldn't do it. So Asuma concentrated on controlling his chakra to prevent himself from falling into the water. But chakra control is not something that can be improved instantly, and the sudden waves also test his body skills. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6=9 book bar released this novel for the first time. Asuma held on for 5 minutes with difficulty, but finally fell into the water by accident and was instantly picked up by Miyu. "It seems that your chakra control ability needs to be improved, and you can't start free training," Miyu said with regret. "If you hadn't interfered with the water escape, how could I have fallen into the water?" Asuma retorted, somewhat unconvinced. "Do you expect the enemy not to use ninjutsu to attack you during the battle?" Miyu said lightly. "No, I want to try again." Asuma became more and more angry as he thought about it, and decided to prove himself. "Facts have proved that you may not be able to solve math problems when you are anxious, but fighting may indeed make you burst out." This time Asuma persisted for 7 minutes, and was 3 minutes away from completing the 10-minute achievement. After Asuma rested for a while, he couldn't wait to call Miyu to come again. The third time he persisted for 7.5 minutes. In the end, Asuma successfully persisted for 10 minutes when the sun was about to set. "I succeeded," Asuma shouted excitedly, and then he lost control of his chakra and fell into the water and drank a mouthful of river water. When Miyu picked Asuma up, Asuma's face was still excited. "Then I can practice whatever I want to practice." Asuma wiped the water stains on his face and said happily, "Who told you?" Miyu looked at Asuma with a strange face. Asuma's smile froze, and he asked, "Didn't you say that you can't train freely if you persist for 10 minutes? "Yes," Miyu nodded, and then said, "But I was talking about this time, that is, the first time you did it, and you didn't succeed the first time." Asuma recalled it, and it seemed to be true. Then why did he try so hard to persist? Physical fatigue and mental trauma. Asuma almost fainted. He was pissed off by the rebellious teacher, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who peeked from time to time, also touched his beard and felt that Miyu's teaching ability was indeed strong. In the afternoon training just now, Asuma's body movements and chakra control abilities have been exercised. "I must fight back tomorrow," Asuma swore in his heart. He felt that he had been tricked all afternoon today. Chapter 27 What to do if the teacher is too cunning. After completing the tutoring task, Miyu did not return to the South Forest, but went to the house in the main city. Miyu simply fried 2 dishes for dinner and then went out for a walk. After all, friendship cannot be found at home. Miyu walked for a while and finally met Minato and Kushina in a nearby park. The two were sitting on a park bench, enjoying the evening breeze and chatting. "Haniu," Minato greeted Miyu after seeing her. "Are you also here for a walk in the park?" Minato asked. Miyu nodded, sat on the chair next to her and said, "I just finished my meal, so I'm going to walk around to digest it." "Haniu, I heard from Minato that you are a teacher at the ninja school?" Kushina asked curiously. In her circle of friends, no one has ever been a teacher at a ninja school. "Well, I just joined this year," Miyu replied with a smile. "You just joined this year, so Haniu, you must have brought out a very good class," Minato said with some surprise. Kushina looked at Minato with some confusion. Yesterday in the office, the Sandame said that Hanyu's teaching level is very high, and he wants to ask Miyu to be their family's tutor. Minato explained. He just joined this year and got such an evaluation from the Sandame, so his teaching results must be particularly outstanding. Wow, did the old man of the third generation praise him like this? Kushina was also a little surprised. Although she had a general impression of Sarutobi Hiruzen, she still recognized Sarutobi Hiruzen's vision. No, it's also because the student himself worked hard enough, Miyu said modestly, and then said, Namike's Jonin is amazing. He has become a Jonin at a young age and has become an important fighting force in the village. That's right, our Minato is the strongest, Kushina said in full agreement. But I am also a Jonin, Kushina laughed. Miyu showed a surprised look, and then praised, the Uzumaki Jonin is also amazing. Hanyu, you are really good at talking. Kushina is getting more and more pleasing to Miyu, otherwise her sister Rukia Mikoto has already married, and she has to introduce her to Miyu. Look, what a good man, he is as handsome as Minato, and he is also capable enough to be praised by the third generation. The three chatted for a while, and then Miyu took the lead to say goodbye and leave. It is not a big deal for two young lovers to take a walk together, so it is not a big deal for him to stay too long. He should pay attention to moderation and slowly establish his personality. The next day, Miyu still trained Obito, Might Guy and the other two until noon, and then went to Sarutobi Hiruzen's house in the afternoon to teach Asuma, and took Asuma to the river yesterday. I am too tired today and don't want to train, Asuma started directly, leaning against the tree, as if he was ready to sleep. He had secretly made up his mind in his heart that no matter how Miyu stimulated him later, he would not be moved. Want to sleep? Miyu smiled at Asuma. That smile was very gentle and healing, much better than his old man, but Asuma had a bad feeling. Yes, I didn't sleep well last night. Is it okay? Asuma said stubbornly. To Asuma's surprise, Miyu nodded and said, yes, today the sun is shining and the breeze is not noisy. It is indeed a good day for sleeping. Then Miyu stretched and leaned against the tree, saying with a relaxed look, it's really good to be a tutor. I can sleep while lying down, and when I wake up, I have earned 100,000 taels. After that, Miyu closed her eyes and leaned her head against the tree, looking like she was ready to sleep. Wait, what 100,000 taels did you say? Asuma's eyes widened instantly and asked Miyu, why are you making so much noise? Are you going to sleep or not? Miyu didn't even open her eyes, looking like she was about to fall asleep. Don't sleep yet. What 100,000 taels are you talking about? Asuma shook Miyu's body. What can it be? Of course it's the money for your lessons. Miyu opened her eyes and began to talk nonsense seriously. Do you think I'm working for free? Even the Hokage has to pay for a tutor. My fees are very high. I'll charge you 25,000 taels per hour for teaching you. Of course, it'll be 100,000 taels for 4 hours a day. Is your mouth made of gold? You charge so much. Asuma was shocked to learn that Miyu could get 25,000 taels for staying with him for 1 hour. You should know that when he was in school, his monthly pocket money was only 50,000 taels, which was a lot. And Miyu only needs to teach him for 2 hours to get his monthly pocket money. You can go to the ninja school to inquire about the name of Hanyu Miyu, and you will know if it is worth the price. Miyu said calmly. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. But why haven't I heard of your name? Asuma felt like he was being fooled. Because I joined the company after you graduated, Miyu said and closed his eyes again, ready to go to sleep. Seeing Miyu going to sleep again, Asuma was instantly heartbroken. This is a tutor who costs 25,000 taels per hour. Don't sleep. Let's start practicing. Asuma shouted hurriedly, fearing that Miyu would fall asleep and he couldn't wake her up. Didn't you say you didn't sleep well yesterday and you were very tired and wanted to sleep? Are you not tired now? Miyu opened her eyes and smiled at Asuma. Looking at Miyu's expression, Asuma knew he was deceived. This guy didn't sleep at all, but he had no choice. This is a tutor who costs 25,000 taels per hour. If Miyu really sleeps here, Not to mention that Asuma can't sleep now, he can't sleep at night. I've rested well, let's start practicing, Asuma said with a dark face. He was going to go back and complain to his old mother. Isn't it a waste of money to hire such an expensive tutor? It's not like there is no Jonin teacher. Well, today is still training chakra control. Today's goal is to stay on the water for 15 minutes. Miyu stood up and smiled. The training was the same as yesterday. Asuma was trying hard to stay on the water and not fall into it, while Miyu used water escape technique on the shore to interfere. Asuma was as motivated as yesterday, but yesterday he was motivated to slap his old father in the face, and today he was motivated by the sky-high tutoring fee that Miyu had said. At dinner, Asuma complained directly to Biwako, saying that Sarutobi Hiruzen was wasting money on hiring a tutor who paid 25,000 taels per hour. Biwako was also shocked by the sky-high tutoring fee, 100,000 taels for 4 hours. You know, some B-level tasks only cost 100,000 taels, which is equivalent to a single person doing a B-level task in 4 hours. Huh? Are you talking about Hanyu? How could it be possible? His tutoring fee is 2,000 taels per hour. Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile, 2,000 taels? Asuma looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with suspicion. Of course it's 2,000 taels. Where did you hear 25,000 taels? Sarutobi Hiruzen said affirmatively. Looking at his old father's face, Asuma knew that he had been deceived by Miyu. Ah, damn Hanyu Miyu, Asuma roared in his heart, then turned his grief and anger into appetite, eating with big mouthfuls, thinking that he must not fall into Miyu's trap again next week. Sorry everyone, this chapter was written in a hurry, and the quality may be a little poor. I will fix it later when I have time. Something happened at home in the evening. My grandma passed away. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Training Mission. Monday, Class 1, Grade 1, Ninja School. Classes were not open yet, and only half of the students were in the classroom. Ziddy, when will you introduce me to that cute girl you mentioned before? Shinayu Izuma couldn't help asking Gang Ziddy. Gang Ziddy held Shinayu Izumo's neck and said viciously, how dare you ask me to introduce you to a girl? You pretended not to do well in the last exam, but you actually did so well. It's fun to play tricks on your brothers, right? Shinayu Izuma cried out that he was wronged, saying that it was an accident, that he was just a little bit lucky, and that he was only 5 points higher than Gang Ziddy. Gang Ziddy then let Shinayu Izuma go, but he also said that it was a bit difficult to introduce a girl, because his hateful cousin recently told Miyu some of his unspeakable things, so he didn't have the face to face him for the time being. How can there be such a traitor, and evil thief? Shinayu Izuma looked indignant. You are exaggerating too much, Hongdu next to him complained. And why do you want to meet a girl? Am I not a girl? Hongdu asked doubtfully. Shinayu Izuma and Gang Tsuitaya were silent, staring at each other for a while, and finally Shinayu Izuma said, Hongdu, this is hard to explain to you, but you just need to know that we are brothers. Girl. If Hongdu hadn't said it, Shinayu Izuma would have really forgotten that Hongdu was a girl. But, which girl would stand on the table and shout to the whole class? Hongdu's behavior was more boyish than them, so how could Shinayu Izuma think of Hongdu as a girl? At this time, Miyu walked in. Teacher Hanyu, do you think I look like a girl? Hongdu asked directly. Miyu smiled and nodded and said, of course, I'm still a very cute girl. Putting aside words and deeds, little Hongdu is still a very cute girl. Hearing Miyu's reply, Hongdu was very happy and made a face at Gang Tsuitaya and Shinayu Izuma. Shinayu Izuma, Gang Tsuitaya. Which girl would ask such a question directly, and make a face after it was done? Soon, the morning's ninjutsu theory class was over. Lecture completed. Evaluation. Award. Magic middle dot rebinding. Miyu immediately had the memory of learning this B-level illusion and the techniques of using it in his mind. Another illusion, So there are two illusions for Shisui now. Muyu nodded secretly in his heart. In addition to this magic middle tree binding, he also obtained a Naraku seeing technique through lectures. The effect of tree binding is to make the opponent have the illusion of being entangled by trees. The body cannot move, but the mind is clear, and it is generally used to ask questions to obtain information. Naraku seeing technique allows the opponent to see the scene that he fears the most. There was no class in the afternoon, but the teacher of Class 6 of Grade 4 asked him to substitute for the class. In Class 6 of Grade 4, Muyu discovered two ninjas who appeared in the plot. Name, Shiranui Genma. Potential. A. Name, Ebisu. Potential. B. This time, she taught the ninjutsu class. Because of the special period, the 4th grade is already the graduating class, so Muyu taught the clone technique, which is usually tested for graduation. It turns out that what they said is true. This Hanyu teacher is really good at teaching. It turns out that the clones that were separated don't seem to have this problem. Fortunately, the ninjutsu teacher was sick today, otherwise I wouldn't be able to attend Hanyu teacher's class. Can I transfer to Hanyu teacher's class? If I am taught by such a teacher every day, I won't worry about not being able to master these 3 basic ninjutsu. I'm afraid it won't work. Hanyu teacher seems to have only taught a 1st grade class. After systematically studying how to become a teacher, with the blessing of teaching skills, and a lot of ninja knowledge in his mind, Muyu's teaching quality is now clearly different from that of ordinary Chunin teachers. The students of Class 6 of the 4th grade finally understood why those classes taught by Muyu respected Muyu so much. It was really amazing. The students' large amount of praise did not make Muyu feel complacent, because he knew there were many reasons for this, one of which was that the educational environment of the ninja school was somewhat distorted. What kind of ninja would come to be a teacher in a ninja school? Muyu didn't know what would happen in the future, nor what would happen in the past, but in the current ninja school, only ninjas who felt that their strength could only stop here would come to be teachers. The teacher's salary was enough to live a comfortable life in Konoha, but there was a big gap to support the ninjas' training and becoming stronger. So this led to the fact that the ninja school teachers were generally average in strength and had no ambition. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. If they were ambitious, they would have been working hard to practice by doing tasks every day, and would not have become a ninja school teacher. Such teachers, except for those with a strong sense of responsibility, how could they seriously study teaching? Most of them just muddle through. Muyu had reason to believe that the Konoha high-level officials also knew the situation of the ninja school, and even considered it when it was established. So there was such a thing as a team leader. After graduation, students will receive re-education in small classes. But this didn't have much to do with Muyu. After all, he was just a small teacher, and he could only guarantee the quality of his own teaching. Lecture completed. Evaluation. A. Award. Fire Style. Great Fireball Technique. Muyu found that he and the Great Fireball were also quite predestined. This was the 3rd time he had obtained the Great Fireball. Feeling the continuous cultivation memories in his mind, Muyu felt that his Great Fireball should have reached the proficiency level of the system. After school, Muyu and his disciples gathered at the training place as usual. Teacher Muyu, this is my once-in-a-lifetime request, please agree. Before the training began, Obito immediately ran to Muyu and bowed with his hands clasped together to ask, "How can I agree if you don't even tell me your request?" Muyu replied. He didn't know what Obito was doing for a while. "I would like to ask you to teach me a powerful fire-style ninjutsu, so that I can win the 1st place in the junior ninjutsu competition." Obito said his request. In fact, Obito had participated in this competition before. He thought that he could easily win the 1st place. After mastering the Great Fireball, he never expected to meet Kakashi, a super genius, and lost the 1st place. Recently, Obito saw that this competition was being promoted again, and he decided to invite Kakashi to participate in the competition, and the two sides would decide the winner. However, Obito was very unsure. Although the Great Dragon Fire technique was practical, it did not have enough visual impact, and his Great Fireball, which was pronounced as Great Fireball and written as Small Fireball, was even worse. But it didn't matter. Obito believed in Muyu's strength. Disciple Uchiha Obito said training tasks. Training task: get first place in the youth ninjutsu competition. Reward: depends on the completion of the task and the increase in strength during the task. 3 pop-up windows appeared on Muyu's system panel. Don't worry, it will be updated stably, just like usual. Chapter 29 Mastery Level Ninjutsu. Muyu looked at the 3 sudden messages and fell into thought. He didn't expect that the master-disciple system actually had a function like training tasks. Then why didn't it appear when he made the training plan before? Can it only be triggered by disciples? Even if it can only be triggered by disciples, some tasks should have been triggered before, such as Obito wanting to get the first place in actual combat. Muyu guessed that this kind of training task may have many restrictions to trigger, and it may also be related to the trust level. Since it was the first time to trigger it, he couldn't determine all the conditions. The only thing that was confirmed at present was that the disciple who triggered the task must have enough desire for the task target. Looking at Obito's eager and expectant eyes, Muyu was very sure of this. Teacher Muyu, just promise me this time, after getting the first place, I will definitely double the tasks you assign, and I will listen to you in any training plan in the future. Obito pleaded. He still can't forget that he lost to Kakashi in front of Lin on the day of the competition. Okay. Muyu nodded helplessly. Teacher Muyu, you are indeed the best teacher in the world. Obito was very excited when he saw Muyu agreed. Let's save the good words for after we win first place. Muyu put 2 fingers together and tapped Obito's head. Hee, I'm just telling the truth. Obito laughed. He has been studying for several years, but he still doesn't know what a good teacher is. Muyu has a good temper, his lectures are not boring and easy to understand, and he is also very good to students. Such a teacher is nothing but a good teacher. Then what ninjutsu are you going to teach me, Mr. Muyu? Obito asked curiously. Fire style, Great Fireball technique, Muyu said. I know the Great Fireball. I used it in the last competition and only got 20 points. Obito scratched his hair and said helplessly. In the previous competition, he used the Great Fireball and got 20 points to temporarily rank first. As a result, Kakashi came up and showed his Earth Escape technique, controlling the entire venue to rise and fall, and directly got 30 points. Don't you want to be powerful? Among the Fire Escape techniques you can learn now, the Great Fireball is the most powerful, Muyu said, and then walked to the river and began to quickly form seals. Fire style, Great Fireball technique. Muyu condensed a large amount of chakra, and at the moment of spewing it out, it all changed its nature and turned into flames, spewing out blazing flames continuously. The huge amount of flames formed a huge blazing fireball 10 meters high. In front of such a huge fireball, even the 1.8 meter tall Muyu seemed small, not to mention Obito, Shisui and others, who were even more shocked. It's even stronger than the last time I saw it. What is the strength of Teacher Muyu? Shisui thought of the memory of his first visit to Muyu's house. That time he accidentally saw Muyu practicing ninjutsu, which was also a great fireball, which was very shocking. But this time it was even more shocking than the last time. Shisui instantly felt that Muyu's strength was unfathomable, and it might not be that she was using her full strength now. Is this a great fireball? Looking at the huge fireball in front of him that was taller than his house, Obito was dumbfounded. Compared with Shisui's great fireball, his was still a small fireball, and compared with Muyu's, it was just a tiny spark that came from nowhere. It was hard for Obito to believe that Muyu had just used the same ninjutsu on him. It's really huge. If you encounter such a ninjutsu, you have to be faster and stronger, might Guy sighed as he looked up at the fireball. The huge fireball hit the river, evaporating a lot of water. In an instant, bursts of white mist gushed out and enveloped the surroundings. After Muyu used the wind escape technique, it quickly dissipated. Muyu exhaled lightly, smiled at Obito and asked, "How is it? Is the power of the fireball enough?" "Yes, it's enough. It looks too powerful." Obito nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. If the fireball he could use was a quarter of the size of Muyu's, He should be able to win the game. Muyu thought to himself that of course it was powerful. The attack just now was very pretentious and consumed a lot of chakra, directly burning 1,000 points of his chakra. It is impossible to use a fireball of this size in normal battles, because it is indeed a bit difficult to hit people in battles of the same level. Muyu remembered that in her previous life, someone who was bored seemed to have done some statistics, and then surprisingly found that for more than 700 episodes, no matter who used the Great Fireball, no one had ever hit a humanoid creature. With such an exaggerated record, it is no wonder that it is called a technique that cannot hit anyone. Then you try it, Muyu said to Obito. Okay. Obito nodded, walked to the river, quickly formed a seal and blew out a flame. But the embarrassing thing was that Obito's Great Fireball was only the size of 2 human heads, which was a world of difference from the Great Fireball that Muyu had just cast. Obito is fine, even a small one. "K, please spare me." Obito interrupted the casting directly, indicating that he did not need his strange comfort. "Do you know why your Great Fireball is so different from mine?" Muyu asked. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar 6 = 9 plus book _ bar published this novel for the first time. "Because I am not proficient in it," Obito said uncertainly. "There are 3 aspects. The first is that your chakra control ability is too poor to make good use of the limited chakra in your body. The second is that your nature change training is too poor, and you cannot transform a large amount of chakra into flames at once. The third is that you are not proficient in mastering the Great Fireball," Muyu concluded. Immediately, Muyu took out a booklet and handed it to Obito, saying, "This is some of my experience in practicing the nature change of fire attribute chakra. You can solve the problem of nature change by reading, memorizing and practicing more according to this manual." Obito's foundation is much worse than Shisui's. Muyu basically helped Obito to rebuild his foundation in the first month, and then taught him the Great Dragon Fire by the way, so he never gave Obito the nature change manual. If it weren't for a training task that suddenly appeared, Muyu was going to give it to Obito next semester. After all, if Obito learns too much at a time, he really can't learn it. "You gave your disciple the Fire Attribute Chakra Nature Change Training Manual." Because the disciple was very grateful, he was rewarded with a big critical hit and obtained Fire Style. Had hard work, mastery. Muyu didn't expect Obito to be so powerful, and directly gave him a mastery level Fire Style. The first jutsu is not just an ordinary fire jutsu, it is a B-level fire jutsu performed by Kakazu's Fire Attribute Mask. It is very powerful and can be used in conjunction with the wind jutsu he drew before, which can instantly create a sea of fire that burns a forest. A large number of training memories appeared in Muyu's mind. In an instant, Muyu had an illusion that he seemed to be a ninja who had been practicing the first jutsu silently in an unknown corner for 30 years. In 30 years, he only practiced one ninjutsu and practiced this ninjutsu to the point where he could use it as easily as his arm. "I will definitely read it every day." Obito held the manual in his arms as if he had found a treasure. "One more thing. First practice chakra control ability," Muyu said with a smile. After Obito completed the basic tree climbing and water treading training, the enhanced water treading training program he invented on Asuma would be useful. Although Obito didn't know what Muyu was thinking, he recalled the miserable time on the weekend and knew that it was probably a very torturous and very effective training program. But now he can only straighten his chest and take it hard, because this time he asked for it himself. It will be released tomorrow. It's time to decide the fate of this book. Chapter 30. Attempt to practice the mission. Muyu first asked Obito to try climbing a tree. There weren't many other things in the forest of the east of Konoha, but there were many trees. Trees more than 10 meters high could be seen everywhere, and there were also many taller ones. Muyu randomly pointed to a 20-meter-high tree and asked Obito to try to gather chakra at his feet and climb it. Obito nodded, then took a deep breath, gathered chakra at his feet, and rushed up. Obito rushed to a distance of about 10 meters in one breath, and then accidentally failed to control the chakra with his next step, and stepped on the tree and left a footprint and fell down. Muyu jumped up to catch Obito, and nodded secretly in her heart. Although it was not as good as Asuma's level, it was still okay. At least he didn't fall down after walking a few steps. There was nothing much to say about this kind of training. It was nothing more than a matter of persistent practice. There was no special technique. After Miyu demonstrated it to Obito several times, she left a shadow clone to watch and let Obito practice on his own. The real body went to find Might Guy, who was exercising his body. Among Miyu's 3 disciples, Might Guy's training project can be said to be the most boring. When Obito gets tired of practicing physical skills, he can perform a few ninjutsu to change his mood. While Might Guy's training is not only about practicing Konoha tornado, but also about exercising his physique. Exercising the physique is not something that can be done overnight, and this is an aspect that Miyu's teaching skills cannot help with. His teaching skills can allow Might Guy to learn physical skills faster and improve physical skills in a shorter time, but it cannot accelerate the effect of Might Guy's training. The exercise effect obtained by doing a push-up is still one push-up. When Miyu walked to Might Guy was doing push-ups with a stone about the same size as him on his back. "Gay, how is your Konoha tornado going?" Miyu asked. He wanted to test the triggering conditions of the training task, and Might Guy, who is at the 3rd level of trust like Obito, was the best choice. Hearing Miyu's words, Might Guy stopped moving, kept his body still and replied, "It's a little faster than during the exam, but not fast enough." After answering, Might Guy took the stone away and stood up, kicking a wooden stake not far away with an extremely fast Konoha whirlwind. Miyu nodded. Compared with before, he has indeed improved a little. His kicks are more sharp and decisive. It should be that he gained something from the battle with Hyuga Kamen. Physical exercise can't be effective so quickly. The improvement of physical fitness is at least measured in months. How do you think you can improve your strength? Miyu asked a question that puzzled Might Guy. Of course it's practice. Might Guy directly said what he was thinking. He thought the question asked by Miyu was a bit strange. If you want to become stronger, you must practice persistently. Miyu shook his head and asked again. Practice can improve and is also the most important part of increasing strength. But are there any other methods? Might Guy scratched his head, then thought of his improved Konoha whirlwind and the practical test that every exam in the ninja school has. Instantly, a light flashed in his mind and said, "Fight." Yes, fighting is also an important part of improving strength. In fighting, you can better transform the results of practice into your own strength. Miyu smiled. The fighting I am talking about is not the fight between you and Obito before. That is not a normal fight. If you want to improve, you must challenge the strong and fight the strong you want to challenge openly. Listening to Miyu's words, a person gradually appeared in Might Guy's mind. That person has white hair and wears a mask every day. He is a famous super genius in Konoha. There is no other name. That is Might Guy's lifelong enemy, Hatake Kakashi. Might Guy, who has improved his strength after learning from Miyu, has long had the idea of challenging Kakashi, but has been suppressing it. He wanted to wait until he completely mastered the Konoha whirlwind physical technique before challenging Kakashi. But now Might Guy has changed his mind. Can he defeat Kakashi after he completely masters the Konoha whirlwind? Not necessarily. Is he afraid of failure? Then why not fight Kakashi and improve his strength better? Teacher Miyu, I understand, Might Guy said solemnly. Looking at Might Guy's face, Miyu probably knew that his guidance had worked. With Might Guy's mobility, he might go back to find Kakashi tonight, but to Miyu's regret, there was no training task called defeating Kakashi. What other conditions are there? Miyu was a little confused. According to the original Naruto, Might Guy definitely has a great desire to defeat Kakashi at this time. The title of super genius, the identity of a nemesis. Might Guy has too many reasons to want to defeat Kakashi. Carefully recalling the details of Obito triggering the training task, Miyu found a problem. Obito's attitude was pleading, and he expressed in his words that he must have Miyu's help, and Miyu had to teach him the powerful fire escape to complete it. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar. First published this novel. Does achieving the result include the necessary need for the teacher? Miyu guessed in his heart. If so, it makes sense that Might Guy did not trigger the training task just now. Just now, Might Guy was at most ignited by him to challenge Kakashi, and he probably didn't think about what would happen without Muyu. With a rough guess, Muyu did not test it again. He would wait until Might Guy failed to challenge Kakashi before taking action. At that time, he would let the disciple who failed in the battle feel the warmth of the teacher. After finishing the teaching, Muyu went to the house in the main city. After dinner, Muyu first went to the park where he met Minato and Kushina before. Fortunately, Muyu met Kushina and Minato there again. Maybe people nearby like to come here, so the two were not surprised to see Muyu. By the way, you left too fast last time. I forgot to ask you something. Kushina suddenly remembered something and asked, "Did you agree to be a tutor when the third-generation old man asked you to be a tutor?" Muyu nodded. "I heard that the child seems to be a little rebellious. He doesn't listen to the third-generation old man. Will he listen to you?" Kushina asked curiously. Muyu smiled and told them how she trained Asuma. Kushina didn't know how Asuma felt about being taught, but she was very happy to hear it, especially when Asuma wanted to resist the next day but was fooled into practicing and exhausted. Kushina exclaimed that the smart third-generation old man could actually give birth to such a stupid son. Minato was also surprised by Muyu's teaching ideas. For such students who didn't want to learn, he could let them cooperate to complete the training. Muyu didn't just talk about it herself, but also asked Minato and Kushina some things. The atmosphere of the chat was very harmonious. Muyu felt that if they got along for a while and became friends, he could inadvertently show his interest in the seal technique. The transition chapter is really hard to write. I deleted and revised 1,000 words from this chapter, so I posted it so late. Chapter 31 5 Attribute Ninja. You're here. I'm here. You shouldn't have come. I'm already here. Get out now. It's fine if you suddenly broke into my house, but you also rushed into the bathroom. What do you want to do, Kai? The usually aloof Kakashi couldn't hold it anymore, and looked at Might Guy, who sneaked into the bathroom with a mad look on his face. Of course, it's a battle full of youth and blood. Might Guy raised his arm and gave Kakashi a thumbs up and said enthusiastically, "Kakashi, if the foam on his body hadn't been washed off, he would have wanted to give Might Guy a flying kick right now. Who would rush into the bathroom at night and say they want to duel? Even if you want to fight, you have to wait until I finish my shower." Kakashi couldn't help but complain. "You are worthy of being my nemesis. You accepted the challenge so quickly. I'll wait for you outside." Might Guy smiled brightly, and his 2 rows of shining white teeth were particularly dazzling under the light. Kakashi stroked his forehead speechlessly. He was a little suspicious whether his father had made a mistake back then. He actually thought that Might Guy might become stronger than him in the future and be a good opponent. But if Might Guy wants to fight, then let him fight. It would be good for him to see the gap between them. Kakashi quickly washed his body, put on his clothes and went outside. "Let's fight it out." Might Guy got ready and shouted passionately, "Are we going to compete in physical skills this time?" Kakashi asked. Since the first grade, Might Guy has challenged him in various ways. The competition is not limited to fighting, but sometimes it is also about throwing shuriken. "No, just use all your strength and treat this as a formal battle." Might Guy shook his head and said seriously, "Are you sure?" Kakashi asked again. If he used his full strength directly, he thought Might Guy would not have a chance to resist. He became a chunin 2 years ago, and Might Guy is still a student of the ninja school. "Absolutely sure." Might Guy smiled brightly. "Then you should be careful." As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, he immediately took out 4 shuriken and shot them towards Might Guy. Might Guy dodged the shuriken, but suddenly found that Kakashi had inadvertently approached him and swung his fist. Konoha whirlwind. Might Guy quickly kicked out a whirlwind kick, and his fist collided with Kakashi's. Both of them took a few steps back. "Huh?" Kakashi looked at Might Guy with some surprise. He didn't expect Might Guy to react so quickly and counterattack. The speed of his kick was unexpectedly fast. Might Guy had challenged him once 2 months ago, and it was a physical skill competition. Compared with the last time, Might Guy has made obvious progress. "How is it, Kakashi?" "I have become much stronger." Might Guy laughed. "I hope you can still laugh next time." Kakashi's eyes became sharp. Kakashi quickly formed a seal and created 4 shadow clones. The shadow clones formed a seal and used the clone technique to create a large number of phantoms. So many Kakashis, Might Guy was a little dumbfounded when he saw dozens of Kakashis suddenly appearing. Kakashi kept rushing towards Might Guy. Might Guy used Konoha whirlwind again and kicked down more than a dozen Kakashis in one breath. Unfortunately, they were all phantoms. The remaining shadow clones of Kakashi took the opportunity to attack. When Might Guy was struggling to cope, a hand suddenly emerged from the ground and grabbed Might Guy's feet. Earth-style, hard decapitation technique. Might Guy instantly felt that his whole body was falling at a high speed. When he reacted, only his head was left on top. The battle is over. Kakashi squatted and said to Kakashi's head exposed, "Kakashi, you are worthy of being my nemesis. You are so strong." Might Guy sighed. In the battle with the student of the Hyuga clan, he could still fight back and forth, but he lost because the opponent's Byakugan's insight ability was too strong. But in the battle with Kakashi, except for the initial physical skill confrontation, he soon fell into a disadvantage and was killed by Kakashi when he found an opportunity. It can be said that Might Guy was a crushing battle. If you know I'm strong, you should practice more before coming to me. At least you should graduate first, Kakashi said bluntly. Okay, I'll come to you when I become stronger. Might Guy laughed. Kakashi felt that Might Guy seemed to be selectively deaf. Don't ignore the following words. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book _ bar is the first to publish this novel. Too lazy to ask whether Might Guy listened or not, Kakashi let Might Guy out and went home. Might Guy patted the dust off his body, looked at Kakashi's leaving back, and clenched his fists. We have to get stronger and stronger. This time, fighting with Kakashi with all his strength, Might Guy opened his horizons. To become the strongest, he still needs to go a long way. Might Guy has made up his mind. He will ask Teacher Muyu tomorrow if he can help him formulate a stricter training plan. The next day, ninja school. Next, I will talk about the key points that need to be paid attention to in the clone technique. In the ninjutsu class, Muyu finished talking about the knowledge of hand seals to guide chakra and mentioned the three-body technique. Although there are only 3 ninjutsu to learn in the ninjutsu class, there are still many other theoretical knowledge related to ninjutsu. Teacher Hanyu, since the main goal of the clone technique is to create an illusion to confuse the enemy, can I combine the clone technique with the transformation technique to create an illusion that is easier to confuse the opponent than myself? Gang Ziti asked. Muyu thought about it seriously and found that this is really possible. Even someone in the original work has developed an upgraded version. That is Naruto's harem technique. Clone, confusion, transformation, perfect fit. Because it is a shadow clone, it is still an upgraded version. You can try it. We now have so many ready-made ninjutsu to learn because of the hard work of our predecessors. Muyu encouraged Gang Ziti's idea, but I suggest not to use it in actual combat before it is perfected. Muyu reminded, if he really came up with the harem technique, it would be fine. If he came up with something else weird, Muyu was worried that he would be beaten. Teacher, I know. Gang Ziti nodded, and prepared to have a good discussion with his 2 good brothers Shinryu Izumo and Hongdu later. I believe that by combining the wisdom of the 3 top strong men in the class, they will definitely be able to develop a surprising ninjutsu. Get out of class is over. Muyu announced the end of get out of class after the bell rang. Lecture completed. Evaluation. A. Reward. Earth escape middle. Earth flow wall. Finally, it's Earth escape. Muyu was a little surprised. Although Earth flow wall is not a particularly strong ninjutsu, the system will come with some property changes. Now Muyu has mastered all the 5 basic property changes. After school in the afternoon, Muyu ran into Might Guy on the way to the training place. The conjecture was indeed verified, but it was still a little beyond his expectations. Thanks to for the 500 reward, thanks to for the 3000 reward, thanks to 108 for the 200 reward. Chapter 32, 8 Gates. Disciple Might Guy sets training tasks. Training tasks. Get a training plan that can enhance strength. Reward depends on the completion of the task. Looking at the training tasks revealed by Might Guy, Muyu felt a little subtle. He originally thought that the task would be to defeat Kakashi, but it turned out to be a training plan. Can this be called a training task? Muyu seriously thought about the causes and consequences of the triggering of the training task and came up with some guesses. The disciple's thoughts determined the content of the training task. Obito felt that he could not get the first place in the junior ninjutsu competition with his current situation, so there was a training task to win the first place. When Obito learned that the competition was held again, there were only 2 weeks before the competition started. With such a short time, Obito believed that only with the help of Muyu could he win the first place. Although Might Guy wanted to defeat Kakashi, he was not in a hurry, and he did not have the idea that he had to ask Muyu for help to defeat Kakashi. It may even be that because he had only known each other for a month and was the pure beneficiary, Might Guy would be embarrassed to bother Muyu too much. All kinds of reasons combined together, and finally led to Might Guy's training tasks being very strange. "Teacher, I'm sorry to bother you with the training plan." Might Guy thanked him. "How can this be a problem? You are so eager to become stronger." "I am so happy." Muyu touched Might Guy's head and said, "Because for a teacher, the best reward for a disciple is to become stronger." Muyu's expression was very sincere. This was not acting, but Muyu's true words. Hearing this again, Might Guy felt something different. Perhaps he should rely on Muyu more. The two went to the training ground together. Obito had almost finished the tree climbing training, and then he would practice treading water. Might Guy was still practicing physical training, repeating various exercises. Shisui followed Muyu's shadow clone to practice illusion. Muyu's original body was completing Might Guy's training task, which was to help Might Guy develop a new training plan. This was not something that was written casually on a whim, but had many considerations. You can't just increase the amount of training if you want to become stronger. You also have to consider the body's tolerance. After the sky gradually darkened, the three of them completed the training arranged by Muyu, and Muyu also completed Might Guy's new training plan. Muyu called Might Guy alone and handed him the training plan. "Complete the training task. Get the reward of training secret medicine times 20, chakra plus 150. Training secret medicine. Effectively relieve physical fatigue, restore the body and eliminate hidden injuries." The task was settled directly, and the reward was better than Muyu imagined. After all, this task was too simple, and Muyu thought that a little chakra would be a profit. As a result, there were actually 20 training secret medicines, which was really a pleasant surprise. This made him look forward to what rewards Obito would get when he completed his task. After all, in terms of the difficulty of completion, Obito's training task was much more troublesome than Might Guy. Muyu's mind moved, pretending to look for something in the ninja tool bag, took out a training secret medicine from the system space, and handed it to Might Guy. "It's for you. Eat it." Muyu smiled. Might Guy should be the one who needs this the most among his three disciples, because his training intensity is too high. "Thank you, teacher." "What is this?" Might Guy asked doubtfully after taking the secret medicine. "It's something good for you. Eat it quickly," Muyu explained. Out of trust in Muyu, Might Guy ate the secret medicine directly. The next moment after swallowing the secret medicine, Might Guy felt his body warm up instantly. A warmth flowed through his limbs and bones, sweeping away his fatigue, and instantly he was full of energy. "Is this a very expensive secret medicine?" Might Guy guessed. The pills given by Muyu were so magical that he felt much more relaxed after eating them. The so-called secret medicine is some medicine with special functions. Generally, it can only be made by special methods and specific materials. The more common and ordinary secret medicine is the Binglian pill that can restore a certain amount of chakra, and the price is also relatively cheap. The error-free version is read at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. The more special and powerful the secret medicine is, the more expensive it is. Might Guy felt that the secret medicine he had just taken must not be cheap. "I've already eaten it, so don't think too much." Muyu did not tell Might Guy the answer. He also didn't know the price of the medicine. The medicine was given by the system. Whether Konoha sold it or not was another matter. And since he had asked, he had already vaguely had the answer in his mind. "You gave the disciple a secret medicine for training." Because the disciple was very grateful, he was rewarded with a big critical hit and the reward of 8 gates. First 3 gates. Many memories of practicing the 8 gates appeared in Muyu's mind instantly. He could feel that he could open a certain limitation in his body. Although he could only open the first 3 gates, Muyu was also very satisfied. With the memory of the technique, he could open more gates if he continued to practice. However, Muyu would not continue to practice the 8 gates. Spending time on other things would be more profitable. Might Guy only has an ordinary talent in ninjutsu, but his talent and physical skills is not weak. He has also practiced for decades and opened the Death Gate. Might Guy was able to severely injure 6 Paths Madara, while Might Guy didn't even kill all the 7 ninja swordsmen. It was just right for him to open only 3 gates, because the first 3 gates were the gates with the least impact on the body of the 8 gates. After the 3rd gate, there would be very high requirements for physical strength. Teacher, I will definitely become the strongest. Might Guy was deeply moved and said with tears. In order to let him eat the expensive secret medicine without burden, he was unwilling to tell him what he ate. If he hadn't noticed it himself, Muyu might have told him that it was sugar beans. Muyu handed the handkerchief to Might Guy, who had developed tear glands, and smiled gently. You will become the strongest, I believe. Even without his help, Might Guy would reach the top of physical skills through his own efforts. Muyu believed that the Might Guy in this world would only go further. It should have increased a lot of trust. I don't know when the disciple with trust level 4 will appear, Muyu thought as he looked at Might Guy's back. Today, Muyu did not go to the main city to meet Minato Kushina by chance, but chose to stay in the southern forest. It has been more than a month since he traveled through time. Although he has the idea of developing the Rasengan, he has never had the time. Recently, he has read a lot of books about sealing techniques and curses, which require some time to absorb. He wants to open the Rasengan during this time. With the detailed process in the original work and the mastery of form changes, it was not difficult for him to develop the Rasengan. The main purpose of developing the Rasengan was not to use it against the enemy, but to have other uses. Chapter 33, Perseverance Asuma. Teacher Muyu, when will you start practicing the nature change? I've been reading the manual you gave me every night recently. I really want to practice it, Obito asked while walking on the stream. Climbing trees and stepping on water every day is really boring, and Muyu's nature change manual really inspired him a lot, and he instantly felt that his fire escape was about to be good. Do you think stepping on water is boring? Have you practiced it almost enough? Muyu asked with a smile. Yeah, Obito nodded quickly. He could already trot on the water. Okay, then I'll test your level and help you make stepping on water more interesting. Muyu quickly formed hand seals and burst out chakra. Water escape, water dragon bullet jutsu. A huge water dragon quickly formed, and then rolled in the stream, making the calm water surface instantly turbulent, and raising a big wave from time to time. Obito accidentally fell into the water and drank a mouthful of water. Muyu immediately pulled Obito out and said with a smile, "Look, you still haven't practiced enough." Teacher Muyu, how can I bear it when you suddenly do this? Obito complained. There was a classmate and a younger generation of the family at the scene, so he still wanted to save face. Then you try it again. Muyu smiled. Treading water is a test of a ninja's control over the continuous output of chakra. There are water dragon bullets to distract and distract, and you have to pay attention to dodge the waves. In this case, you can still maintain a stable and continuous output, which shows that the chakra control ability is very good. Obito's mouth is very hard, but his strength is not hard. He fell into the water again after a few minutes. The shoes I wore today don't fit my feet, which affects my performance. Obito spit out the river water in his mouth and explained, then put the shoes on the shore and walked barefoot on the water. Muyu smiled slightly and said nothing. After a while, Obito fell into the water again. Oh, it should be because I read too late yesterday, which made me lack energy today. No wonder I made so many mistakes. Obito stretched his limbs, twisted his neck, rolled up his sleeves, and said with a serious look, I have to be serious next time. Plop. The sound of falling into the water sounded again. After Muyu quickly pulled Obito out, Obito's eyes were dull, his face was expressionless, and he didn't say anything. Brother Obito, it's okay, I know you want to learn how to swim. Shisui comforted. Obito covered his face with his hands and said, "Shisui, you are busy. I will be fine by myself for a while. Do you think you performed too badly?" Miyu squatted next to Obito, not looking at Obito, but looking into the distance. As the saying goes, there is no harm without comparison. When Obito had not yet started the training of controlling his ability, Shisui had already started, and Shisui made rapid progress. He skipped climbing trees at the beginning, and treading water later was also easy. With Miyu's interference, he could also stay on the water for a long time. Obito would keep talking tough because of Shisui's performance. He admitted that he might not be as good as Shisui, but he shouldn't be that far behind. "Actually, I left last weekend afternoon because I went to tutor at the Hokage's house," Miyu said. "The Hokage has a little son. You should know him, Asuma Sarutobi, who is only 1 year older than you." Obito nodded, and he did know him. "When he was doing water treading training, I also used the water dragon bullet to interfere with him. He fell into the water at least dozens of times in the afternoon. Finally, on the last occasion, he lasted for 5 minutes. Asuma, Obito didn't expect that Asuma, who was an excellent student in the ninja school, would be so miserable, and he actually persisted for an afternoon in such a miserable situation." Obito looked at Asuma with some new eyes. He didn't realize that he was so perseverant when he knew him before. "Teacher, I know, I'm rested. Let's start training." Obito took a deep breath and said in high spirits. Asuma could persist. Why couldn't he? His goal was to defeat Kakashi in front of Rin and take the first place. "Eat something before you practice." Miyu handed Obito a portion of the dumplings he had bought earlier. "Well, thank you, teacher." Obito shouted very energetically, quickly finished the dumplings and walked into the river. "You gave your disciple red bean dumplings, and because your disciple was very grateful, you were rewarded with a critical hit and gained the skill Chef. Chef, the food you make is so delicious that it can cause hallucinations." "Hey, I actually got a skill, and it's a life-related skill." Miyu was a little surprised. Although it is said that the things that are returned by teaching and learning are sometimes quite random, and might guy can get the mastery of water property transformation, but he doesn't understand why Obito got a chef. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6=9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. But it didn't stop Miyu from being happy, because from the skill introduction, this skill is very powerful. Cooking delicious food is a big plus. If he had this skill earlier, he could directly pretend that the cooking equipment at home was damaged, and then go to Minato's house to cook, showing his extraordinary cooking skills. Maybe Kushina and Minato would take the initiative to make friends with him. It can also quickly improve the disciple's favorability. Who doesn't like a teacher who has a high teaching quality and is also a great cook? After the disciples finished their training, Miyu returned to the main city of Konoha early. He wanted to try out how delicious the dishes made with his new skills were. Miyu chose 2 dishes. One was fried rice with egg and the other was fried tempura. He had fried rice with egg before, and he preferred to eat things with eggs. He had never made fried tempura. From the moment he picked up the egg, Miyu felt a sense of mystery. Although the steps were still the same as before, everything was just right. After the fried rice was fried, Miyu was a little absent-minded when he looked at the egg-fried rice, which was clearly golden and faintly emitting golden light. He wondered if he didn't put fluorescent powder when he fried it, so why did it feel glowing? Miyu took a spoon and tasted it. The tenderness of the egg, the elasticity of the rice, and the fragrance of the chopped green onion all burst out in his mouth. He had never eaten such delicious fried rice with egg. Miyu even vaguely saw a strong chicken running and flying on the grass, so free and so refreshing. "It's really delicious to the point of hallucination." Miyu shook her head and soon came to her senses. Miyu changed the frying pan and began to prepare the tempura. First make the batter, then heat the oil in a pan, coat the shrimps that have been processed in advance with the batter, and fry them in the pan. Soon, the tempura's outer layer began to change color gradually, and a unique aroma of frying filled the kitchen and drifted away. Miyu picked up the tempura by feel, then put it on a plate and brought it to the table. When Miyu picked up a tempura and prepared to try the taste, there was a knock on the door. Chapter 34. Did you add mushrooms to this rice? Minato, Do you smell anything? Kushina, who was preparing to cook, suddenly smelled an extremely tempting aroma. Yes, a very tempting fried aroma. Minato nodded. Yes, such a tempting aroma. How is it made? Kushina sniffed the aroma in the air and couldn't help but be curious. She also cooks and has made fried foods like tempura, but she has never had such a tempting aroma. Just by smelling the breath, she can imagine the perfect posture of the food being golden and crispy. No, I want to go out and take a look, Kushina said and walked out. She sniffed the fragrance in the air carefully and found that the source of the fragrance was the house on the right side of Minato's house. Hey, isn't this Haniu's house? Minato, come out quickly. Kushina waved to Minato in the room. If she remembered correctly, this house was the home of Haniu Muiu, the teacher of the ninja school. Although they had only known each other for a few days, Muiu left a deep impression on Kushina. She had blonde hair and blue eyes similar to Minato, was very talkative, and had strong teaching ability. Minato came out, looked at the place where Kushina pointed, nodded and said, "Yes, it's Haniu's house. Let's go. Let's visit the neighbors." Kushina pulled Minato and knocked on the door of Muyu's house. Muyu put the shrimp she caught into the bowl, then put down her chopsticks, walked to the door and opened the wooden door. As soon as the door opened, Kushina couldn't wait to ask, "Haniu, are you making dinner? Sorry, I disturbed you." Minato looked at Muyu's apron and said apologetically, "It's okay, I've finished it and was about to eat." "You came just in time," Muyu said with a gentle smile, and then invited the two into the house. Kushina followed the smell all the way to the dining table, and saw the slightly golden tempura on the plate, and her eyes lit up instantly. This is the smell. However, when she walked into Muyu's house, Kushina discovered that there was also a smell of fried rice. "Haniu, you are still a hidden chef. I can smell the smell of this tempura next door," Kushina praised. "I'm not a great chef. I'm used to cooking because I'm often alone," Muyu said as she took out 2 cups from the cupboard and poured a cup of water for Minato and Kushina. "You can try it. I just made it." Muyu took out 2 sets of tableware and said, "Is it okay? I see you haven't eaten yet." Kushina stared at the tempura and said, she really wanted to try what such a fragrant tempura tasted like. "Let's eat now." Muyu smiled and picked up the tempura in the bowl and put it in her mouth. "Thank you for your trouble, Haniu," Minato thanked. "I'm starting." Kushina put her hands together and said with a sense of ceremony, then picked up the chopsticks and picked up the still steaming tempura and put it in her mouth. As soon as she bit open the crispy outer skin, the moist and tender shrimp inside instantly made Kushina's eyes widen. Something even more magical happened. Kushina seemed to be in the ocean in a trance. She was surrounded by a mysterious and magnificent blue world, and she was a free and carefree fish, swimming happily in the sea all day long. Huh? Kushina woke up quickly and almost thought that she had just been hit by an illusion. Then she thought carefully that there was no one at the scene who could make her fall into an illusion. "Muiu, how did you make this tempura? Did you add mushrooms of strange colors?" Kushina asked doubtfully. She heard that there were ninjas who went to the forest to pick mushrooms in the summer and went to the Konoha hospital and said that there were too many branches and leaves on his body. "Is there anyone who can help him trim them?" No. It's like this and that." Muiu briefly described the process of cooking. At this moment, Kushina noticed that Minato seemed to have eaten a mouthful of fried rice and didn't say much. She looked at Minato and found that Minato was in a daze, so she patted Minato. "Minato, what's wrong with you?" Kushina asked. Minato replied subconsciously, "Eating wild vegetables." "Where are the wild vegetables here?" Kushina looked at the fried rice. There were only chopped green onions and no mushrooms except for the eggs, so she asked in confusion. "Just after eating the fried rice, I seemed to have turned into a wild chicken living in the mountains," Minato explained. Kushina looked at the fried rice on the plate. The grains were full and golden, as if emitting a golden glow. Because she had been paying attention to the tempura, Kushina discovered that the fried rice seemed to be glowing. "This is the best fried rice I have ever eaten," Minato said and couldn't help but scooped 2 spoonfuls into his mouth. "Is it so delicious?" "You should try the tempura," Kushina said in confusion. Then Kushina ate the egg fried rice and Minato ate the tempura. The expressions of shock and happiness appeared on their faces again. "Haniu, Have you developed a ninjutsu that can make the food delicious? This is too delicious, Kushina joked. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book underscore bar published this novel for the first time. If you ever think of opening a restaurant, Hanyu, please let me know, Minato said seriously. He was not a person who valued material enjoyment, but Muyu's fried rice and tempura gave him an experience he had never had before. If you like, you can come and visit more often. It happens that my place is very quiet, Muyu invited with a smile. I hope you don't mind the trouble. You can also try the cooking skills of Minato and me in the future, although it's not as delicious as yours. Hearing Muyu's invitation, Kushina was a little excited. Then I'm looking forward to it, Muyu replied with a smile. After sending the two away, Muyu secretly thought that the new skills were really powerful, and they were almost eating each other's meals. Muyu took down some books from the bedroom on the second floor, and he could gradually show his interest. With Muyu's encouragement, and with Asuma, a friend who led by example, Obito was full of energy. By Saturday, he would soon complete the training of control ability and start practicing nature change. At the weekend, it was time for Muyu, the tutor, to work again. You liar, Asuma scolded Muyu. Last week, in order not to waste the high tuition fees, he really practiced very hard, and he was exhausted when he got home. How hard and painful it was during the training. Asuma hated Muyu so much after he got the truth. Oh, what did I lie to you about? Muyu asked with a smile. Your tutoring fee is clearly 2,000 taels per hour, but you actually lied to me and said it was 25,000 taels. Seeing that Muyu did not admit it, Asuma became even angrier. Then did you lose anything? Did you really give me 25,000 taels? Muyu continued to ask. Of course, Asuma wanted to say something, but suddenly realized that he did not lose anything. Look, you didn't lose anything. You even made a profit. You thought you spent 200,000 taels, but in fact you only spent 16,000 taels and made 4,000 taels. You should thank me, Muyu said quickly. Did I make a profit? Asuma thought along the lines of Muyu, and it seemed that he did make a profit. That's alright, let's start practicing, Muyu said slowly. No, it's 12 out of 10 wrong. Asuma felt something was wrong. Transition chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35, Clever Asuma. No, even if the money is not given to you, it belongs to our family. How can it be earned? Asuma sorted out his thoughts and then retorted, then you are really smart, Muyu praised with a smile. Although he was praised, Asuma felt an indescribable strangeness. Anyway, go and resign from the old man. I don't need a tutor. Asuma leaned against the tree and started directly. Since you don't want to be taught by me, then you just don't come with me, or say no to the third-generation adults, Muyu suggested. Do you think I'm stupid? If I do this, won't the responsibility be all on me? Asuma raised his head slightly and said proudly. The third generation didn't care, but Asuma was more afraid that his mother Biwako would be angry. Muyu nodded secretly in his heart. It was indeed quite stupid. As long as he resigned on the grounds that Asuma didn't cooperate, Asuma would still have to take the blame, but he had no reason to do so. After all, it was too easy to control Asuma, a 9-year-old kid. Why are you so resistant to tutoring? Muyu did not rush Asuma to start training, but continued to chat with Asuma. You won't understand even if I tell you, Asuma shook his head and said, as if you won't understand until you are my age. Why don't you understand? It's nothing more than you don't like your father's arrangement, Muyu said directly. According to Asuma's identity and his own personality, it is easy to deduce the reason why Asuma will rebel. Asuma himself is talented. Compared with those cheating players, he is a genius. He should not be slack in training. Muyu can see that Asuma has a good foundation, but because of his identity as the son of the third generation, his own efforts may eventually turn into a light-hearted sentence, worthy of being the child of the third generation. Hard work will be taken for granted, and not working hard will be criticized by many people. It will be strange if Asuma and the third generation have a good father-son relationship. After graduating and becoming a ninja, he felt that he had grown up, but the third generation actually hired a tutor. This obviously made Asuma feel that he was completely underestimated. You can only see the surface like this. Asuma still had that expression that you don't understand, until Miyu said the next sentence. Isn't it because of your hard training that you only got a sentence that you are worthy of being the child of the third generation? Miyu said with a smile. Asuma's face changed drastically in an instant, and he looked at Miyu with some fear. This was something he had never told anyone, and suddenly it was pointed out by Miyu, which made him feel as if his body was forcibly torn open and his heart was looked at with fear. I don't understand what you are saying. Asuma was still stubborn, but his little hands that had nowhere to put had already exposed his inner panic. If you want to prove yourself, you should accept tutoring, strengthen your strength, and prove yourself with strength, Miyu continued. After all, you are really not excellent now. Miyu directly denied Asuma's strength. Asuma got anxious after his inner thoughts were exposed and then he was denied. He said, I was always the top student in the grade when I was in ninja school. How can I not be excellent? Miyu smiled and said, believe it or not, I can find a student who just entered ninja school. You are no match for me. Asuma left out of anger. If he found a graduate, it would be fine. He was not afraid of Kakashi who just entered ninja school. If you have the guts, go find him. If I lose, I will listen to you in the future, Asuma said harshly. Of course, if I win, you will resign, Asuma added. Then it's a deal. Miyu smiled. Then Miyu sent a shadow clone to bring Shisui over. Asuma looked at Shisui for a few times and felt that Miyu was not lying. He was indeed the kid who just entered ninja school. His name is Uchiha Shisui. He is a student in my class. He is 6 years old and just entered the first grade this year. His name is Sarutobi Asuma. He is a genin who just graduated this year. Miyu introduced the two to each other. Uchiha Shisui, right? I'll tell you, if you can't do it later, just admit defeat quickly to avoid getting hurt. I won't show mercy, Asuma said. Senior Sarutobi, I will pay attention, Shisui said seriously. Begin. Miyu didn't waste time, and announced the start directly after the two of them got ready. As soon as Miyu finished speaking, Asuma rushed out in an instant, waving his fists quickly and rushed towards Shisui. Shisui greeted him calmly and started close combat with Asuma. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6=9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. The two sides kept going back and forth, and Asuma didn't get the upper hand with his relatively tall body. Asuma's face changed. After 2 moves, he found that Shisui was not simple, but he didn't expect it to be so difficult. Asuma was not only unable to gain an advantage, but was also kicked back 3 meters by Shisui because he was too eager to gain an advantage. However, Shisui did not pursue the victory, because when Miyu brought him here, he said that he would try his best to defeat Asuma in all aspects. A graduated genin was kicked back 3 meters by a student who had just entered the ninja school in a physical battle. Even though Miyu was the only one watching, Asuma felt embarrassed and his face turned red. He did not bother to think about why Shisui did not pursue. At this moment, Asuma had only one idea in his mind, which was to defeat Shisui, save face, and prove himself. Fire style, great flame technique. Asuma quickly formed a seal, and his chakra burst out, spitting out a large amount of flames. Fire style, great fireball technique. Shisui also began to form a seal, condensing a large amount of chakra in his mouth, and then spitting it out in one breath and transforming it into flames. The two fire styles collided, and Shisui, who had more flames and a stronger fire, quickly overwhelmed Asuma's fire style, and then continued to rush towards Asuma. Asuma was dumbfounded in the ninjutsu duel. He stood there watching the fireballs coming towards him without making any move. He was wondering why he lost to a student who had just entered the ninja school, and such a miserable defeat. He was kicked 3 meters away in the physical duel, and was directly suppressed in the ninjutsu duel. Is he really useless except for his identity as the son of the third generation? Asuma had deep doubts about himself. The fireball was getting closer and closer. Feeling the heat from the flames, Asuma woke up and moved to dodge, but with his speed, he was inevitably affected by the fireball. At this time, Miyu made a move. Chakra burst out, and quickly formed a seal, water-style, water array wall. A thick wall of water appeared in front of Asuma, blocking the huge fireball. Teacher, please read on. Pushing forward. Chapter 36. Not as good as Miyu. Asuma, who was protected by Miyu's water escape technique, suddenly felt that he was nothing before. He was angry with Miyu because of his dissatisfaction with the third generation and had never had a good attitude. As a teacher, Miyu was already very responsible. Even though he had been uncooperative and resisted Miyu's training, Miyu also cleverly let him complete the training he should have. Although the process was a bit irritating, it was also for his own good, wanting him to complete the training. Shisui, you go back first. Looking at Asuma, who was in a low mood, Miyu knew it was his turn. Shisui nodded, didn't say much, turned around and went back to continue practicing. Miyu walked in front of Asuma, patted the dust off his body, and helped him tidy up his messy clothes. Finally, Miyu squatted on the ground, keeping about the same height as Asuma, looking into Asuma's eyes. The two looked at each other. Asuma quickly lowered his head, and then whispered, "Teacher, I'm sorry." "Tell me how you are sorry for me," Miyu asked with a smile. "I shouldn't have taken out my anger on others on you, and I shouldn't have been against you and refused to cooperate." Asuma didn't dare look at Miyu. "You didn't let me down, you let yourself down." Miyu's expression gradually became serious. Miyu asked, "Does your not training affect me?" Without waiting for Asuma to answer, Miyu continued, "No, even if you don't train, I'll keep spending time with you, and I'll still get 2,000 taels an hour. But you're different. If you train 1 hour less, your 1 hour will disappear, and you won't get anything." For such a rebellious teenager, you have to make the other person feel that everything you do is good for him, that you're on his side, and that he's the one who's making the mistake. Asuma hesitated to speak, and the more Miyu spoke, the more he regretted and the more he felt like a nobody. The more he was annoyed with Miyu's behavior before, the higher his favorability was at this moment. It's no exaggeration to say that Asuma felt that Miyu, a teacher who had only taught him for a few days, was much better than his father, the Hokage. Miyu did not scold him for his hypocritical compliance with Miyu's training requirements, but praised him for his strong limbs. If it was Sarutobi Hiruzen, he would have been so angry that he would have blew his beard and glared at him before he started to lecture him. Before he began to lecture him, Miyu also helped him to dust off his body and tidy up his clothes, and even kept his eyes level with him. Thinking of this, Asuma's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Why can a tutor who has only known him for a few days praise him generously, but when he gets the first place and returns home excitedly, he always can't get praise from his parents? Is Asuma's first place less valuable than others' first place? The more Asuma thought about it, the more aggrieved he felt, and he couldn't help but think of being defeated by a student who had just entered the ninja school today. Many emotions accumulated together and finally broke out. Even though Asuma tried hard to control himself, he still let tears flow down in the end. He tilted his head, not wanting Miyu to see. But how could he hide this from Miyu, who had been paying attention to Asuma? Miyu did not act immediately, but waited for a while, waiting for Asuma to vent some of his emotions by crying. Then he stood up, patted Asuma's shoulders, and took out a square handkerchief and handed it to Asuma. "Teacher Hanyu, you are so kind." Asuma took the handkerchief and wiped his tears and said with a sob, "Unlike my parents, they would not be like this." "That's because you only remember their bad things to you, and forget their good things. Think about it carefully. When you were a child, who was the one who never tired of coaxing you to sleep, who taught you to walk and run step by step, who checked whether you were covered with a quilt in the middle of the night, who?" Miyu said earnestly. "The third generation may be watching, and he can't just focus on his own good impression, but also mediate the relationship between father and son." Asuma was speechless. Miyu did have similar memories in his mind after he said that. "You can think about it carefully in your free time. Now you should prepare to start practicing. You haven't forgotten what you said before?" Miyu saw that Asuma looked tangled, So he talked about practicing. Of course I haven't forgotten. From now on, I will practice whatever you tell me to practice, Mr. Miyu. Asuma wiped his face with a towel and said. Now the image of Miyu in Asuma's mind has changed from a cunning and hateful adult to a perfect teacher who is really good to him. This week, continue to practice chakra control ability, and next week practice ninjutsu. Miyu briefly talked about the training arrangement. He will definitely not teach Asuma the same way as he did to Shisui and the others. First, Asuma's identity is sensitive. The third generation will either keep an eye on him or send someone to keep an eye on him, which may cause him to expose his strength. Miyu does not want to show his strength that exceeds that of a Chunin for the time being. The second reason is very realistic. Asuma is just a student, not a disciple, and it is not worth investing too much energy. As Miyu expected, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was in the Hokage building, was using the telescope technique to observe how Miyu taught Asuma. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book _ bar released this novel for the first time. In terms of teaching children, Hanyu is indeed very good. Seeing Asuma's resistance at the beginning and respect at the end, Sarutobi Hiruzen affirmed Miyu's strength as a teacher. He was not too surprised that Miyu could call Shisui, because Shisui was a student in Miyu's class, and even students from other classes liked Miyu so much. There was no reason why students from Miyu's own class would not like him, but he has such strength right after entering school, and his talent is even better than that of Kagami. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought of his former teammate Uchiha Kagami. That was an Uchiha with the will of fire recognized by the second generation. It seems that I have to pay more attention to him. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up his pipe and took a puff. Shisui is the grandson of Uchiha Kagami, and he is also very talented. Sarutobi Hiruzen knew about his existence before. He hoped that Shisui could become an Uchiha like Uchiha Kagami. Seeing Asuma start to practice, Sarutobi Hiruzen cancelled the telescope technique and began to handle official business. Until the evening, Sarutobi Hiruzen used the telescope technique again to inspect Konoha, and then left the Hokage building to go home for dinner. At the dinner table, Sarutobi Hiruzen asked with a smile, Asuma, are you satisfied with your tutor? This is the teacher I carefully selected for you. Asuma's hands stopped eating, and he couldn't help but recall what happened today. Before today, Asuma would answer that Miyu was a bad teacher who deceived students. Teacher Hanyu is very good, and he teaches much better than you. Asuma praised Miyu and didn't forget to step on the third generation. Although he was enlightened by Miyu, his resentment towards the third generation would not disappear in a short time. What do you know, you little kid? I taught all the 3 ninjas. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was questioned, said with a glare. It's obviously Aunt Tsunade who has extraordinary talents. Asuma retorted that although the 3 ninjas are famous, they all walked their own way. Sometimes, it is also a manifestation of wisdom for people to admit their shortcomings. Asuma imitated Miyu's tone and said. Sarutobi Hiruzen was speechless by his good son. Admitting is not as good as Miyu, and not admitting is not wise, right? Seeing his old father hesitant to speak, Asuma was in a good mood and even had more energy to eat. Chapter 37 Nature Change Cultivation. Teacher Miyu, how long did you last this time? Obito wiped the water stains off his face and looked at Miyu expectantly. He felt that he had been on the river for a long time, maybe for an hour. You performed very well this time, and lasted for 20 minutes. Miyu praised generously. Only 20 minutes. I thought it was at least half an hour. Obito was a little disappointed. On the river, he not only had to keep the chakra output at all times, but also pay attention to Miyu's water escape, observe the waves on the river, and be ready to dodge at any time, always ensuring that this state made him feel like a long time had passed. You have completed the chakra control training, and you can start the nature change training, Miyu said with a smile. Well, I'll go down right away. Obito has been practicing treading water recently, and subconsciously walked towards the river. After walking a few steps, he realized what Miyu said. Finally, I don't have to tread water. Obito couldn't help but clench his fist and jump up to cheer, and he calmed down when he noticed that Shisui and Might Guy were looking at him. I've been treading water every day recently, and I'm a little used to the smell of the river water here." Obito couldn't help but complain. Treading water is not like climbing a tree. Climbing a tree is fine as long as you adjust yourself, or Miyu catches up quickly. If you don't control treading water well, you will have to drink a mouthful of water. Fortunately, there are not many people here, and the river water is clean and clear, without any strange smell. "Then do you want to practice more?" Miyu asked jokingly. "Forget it. I want to take a detour when I see a river recently." The tortured Obito chose not to be stubborn this time. It's better to start the nature change early. There are only 14 days left before the competition. Obito felt that time was a bit tight. In addition to the nature change, he also had to deepen his proficiency in the Great Fireball. "There will be enough time according to my arrangement," Miyu assured Obito. "This is just training to participate in a folk competition, not to fight pain after training, so there is no need to practice the nature change too exaggeratedly." With the blessing of the professor's skills, and Miyu's Great Fireball has reached the proficient level, it is very simple for Obito to improve the level of Great Fireball. After all, it is related to the reward of the training task, and Miyu has made a serious plan. Soon, Miyu's shadow clone brought a large wooden barrel. Miyu opened the barrel and took out an egg-sized ice cube and handed it to Obito. "Put the ice cube on your palm, and then use chakra to change the nature to melt the ice cube," Miyu said. The first step of the nature change training process. Nature change is a more difficult and advanced practice in the process of ninja training. Even if you have enough chakra, but your corresponding ninjutsu's nature change level is not enough, the power of ninjutsu will be limited. The nature change of fire is more dangerous than wind, because the burning nature of fire may affect the caster. At first, Miyu wanted Obito to burn the leaves, but if Obito could not turn the leaves into ashes instantly, then Obito's hands would be burned by the burning leaves. So Miyu thought of ice cubes, because they have a low enough temperature, so they will only melt into water when they encounter flames. And Obito's flame is not enough to burn the water and the ice cubes. It's so cold. Obito, holding the ice cube, took a breath of cold air. It is still spring now, and the temperature is not high in the morning when the sun is not big. "Then release your chakra quickly." Miyu tapped Obito's head with 2 fingers together. Obito felt pain, shrank his neck, and began to guide his chakra to gather towards his palm, and released it after changing its nature. When changing its nature, you must remember the characteristics of fire, burning and high temperature. Let your chakra burn and increase the temperature, Miyu reminded. Obito stared at the ice in his hand, nodded, and silently recited the words burning and high temperature in his heart. 2 minutes later, Obito felt a stream of water appearing on his palm, and his face instantly showed joy. "Teacher, the ice is melting," Obito said happily. "Why don't you take another ice cube and hold it in your hand for a few minutes to try?" Miyu said. Obito curiously threw away the ice in his hand, took another ice cube of similar size, and held it in his hand without using chakra. Then he embarrassedly found that the degree of ice melting into water was only slightly worse than before. The human body also has temperature. If you hold an ice cube of this size in your hand, it will not melt slowly even if you don't use chakra, Miyu explained, stroking his forehead. Fortunately, the weather is not hot now. If it were summer, Obito would have to think that he was a genius at changing properties. When I use ninjutsu, I always use my mouth. Now I am a little uncomfortable with using my hands. Obito scratched his head and explained. When changing properties, you must always remember the properties of fire, Miyu said while taking out a piece of ice as big as a human head and holding it in his hand. Sizzled! Exclamation mark. The moment Miyu finished speaking, a red light flashed, and the ice as big as a human head immediately turned into bursts of white smoke, and directly turned into water vapor and floated into the sky. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. High temperature, burning. Obito kept repeating these 2 words in his mouth, and then continued to condense chakra in his palms and release it. Soon the morning was about to pass, and Obito already felt that his 2 hands were numb from the cold, and the skin of his hands became white and wrinkled due to long-term contact with water. Think about it carefully. The taste of river water is not bad. Obito regretted why he didn't agree to Miyu's request to practice again a few hours ago. This practice of changing properties is even more torturous than treading water. Don't practice yet. Let's eat. Miyu stopped the three people, then took out 3 lunch boxes and distributed them to the 3 people. Today's food smells so good. Might Guy opened the lid and smelled a fragrance that went straight to his soul, as well as the dazzling golden light in the lunchbox. Teacher Miyu, this rice is not right. It's actually glowing. Might Guy was a little dumbfounded. It's just the reflection of the sun. Don't worry about eating it. Miyu smiled faintly. Might Guy took a spoon and took a bite. In an instant, his eyes burst into a gleam, and he waved the spoon very quickly to send fried rice to his mouth. Delicious, delicious. Might Guy felt that he had never eaten such delicious food. You gave your disciple golden egg fried rice, and your disciple is very grateful to reward you with a critical hit and gain chakra plus 100. Miyu nodded secretly. The chef's skill is really awesome. Is Kai so tired from practicing today? Obito felt that Might Guy was a little exaggerated. Although Teacher Miyu had good cooking skills, there was no need to eat so quickly. It's really delicious. Obito changed his mind a little after opening the lunchbox. His was not egg fried rice, but a home-cooked stir-fry. Obito first picked up a little dish, then a mouthful of rice and put it in his mouth. Delicious. Obito's eyes widened, and he felt a taste he had never tasted before bursting in his mouth. Then he ate the rice like crazy, stuffing the food into his mouth continuously until Obito ate the chili in the dish. A horrible spicy smell burst out, and Obito seemed to have come to the crater of a volcano that was about to erupt, and the air around him was hot and dry. Chapter 38 Obito's Passionate Life. Obito looked up at the sky. The black smoke that kept coming out of the crater covered the sky. Together with the black and gray land, he seemed to be in a monotonous world of only black and gray. It's so hot and spicy. Obito took a deep breath to make his tongue feel more comfortable. Boom! Exclamation mark! Suddenly there was a loud noise, and an indescribable terrifying lava flame gushed out of the crater like a fountain and rushed into the sky. The hot black smoke, the sky-high flames, the dark red magma, the original black and gray world at this moment added a touch of dangerous red. Then the terrifying lava fell from the sky and submerged Obito, and Obito's eyes regained clarity. Spicy, spicy, spicy. After regaining consciousness, the feeling of high temperature gradually weakened, but the spicy taste entangled on the tongue still did not disappear. But Obito still did not stop eating. Although it was spicy, it was so delicious that he couldn't control it at all. High temperature, burning. Obito couldn't help but think of the inexplicable illusion, the flames erupting from the earth, the high-temperature lava that melted him. Whoosh! The next moment, Obito, who was breathing with his tongue sticking out, spit out a red flame directly from his mouth. Obito was shouting spicy while spitting fire, and fanning his tongue with his hands, just like an acrobat performing fire-breathing stunts. Obito was a little confused. Stop the output of chakra, Miyu said calmly. Obito realized that he didn't know when to use chakra, so he cut off the chakra supply and the flame disappeared. While the state is not gone, practice quickly. Miyu took out a palm-sized ice cube and put it in Obito's hand. Remember the feeling just now, high temperature and burning, Miyu reminded. Recalling Obito's absent-minded look just now, Miyu probably guessed something. I didn't expect that the skill cooking with illusions can have this effect. Miyu was also a little surprised. It seems that I have to make some more enthusiastic dishes for Obito recently, Miyu said secretly. If a simple home-cooked stir-fry with chili peppers can have such an effect, then what if Obito eats mapo tofu every day? Wouldn't he make rapid progress? Teacher Miyu, look! Obito shouted excitedly at Miyu as he looked at the ice cube that was melting rapidly in his hand. Miyu nodded slightly after seeing it. The ice cube, which was originally the size of a palm, became smaller in 1 minute. Very good, keep it up, don't forget this feeling. Miyu nodded affirmatively, and did not forget to remind Obito not to drift. Yeah, Obito nodded quickly, staring at the ice cube intently, and continued to release chakra. He was very excited about the significant progress. Sometimes it is unbearable to practice boringly because there is no feedback. If every time you practice, you can make such progress, Obito thinks he may become a practice fanatic. Obito, you should not hate spicy food, right? Miyu suddenly asked with a smile. Spicy? If it can be made as delicious as the one just now, it doesn't matter if it's a little spicy. Obito couldn't help licking his lips and miss the delicious meal just now. It was the first time for him to eat such delicious stir-fried dishes. Although the chili in it was a little spicy, it was really delicious. Don't worry, it's guaranteed to be delicious. Miyu patted Obito's shoulder. You said so yourself. Obito, who was trying to melt the ice, suddenly had a bad premonition. Could it be? Could it be? Although he was holding ice in his hand, Obito couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. Teacher Miyu, I actually like fried rice very much. Obito tried to save the situation. Well, chili fried rice, right? I'll make it for you. Miyu smiled gently. Can I have chili fried rice without chili? Obito asked eagerly. He had a very bad memory. That time he ate something very spicy, and then he knew what spicy was. If he ate dishes that Miyu said were a little spicy every day, Obito was afraid that he would not be able to come out after going into the bathroom. Chili fried rice without fried rice. I didn't expect you to have such a strong taste. It's not impossible. Miyu was selectively deaf. Hearing Miyu's words, Obito's eyes darkened and his legs went limp, and he almost fainted on the spot. He looked at Shisui for help. Shisui, who had just finished his meal and was still savoring it, noticed Obito's gaze and looked up at the sky, pretending not to see it. It's not that Uchiha Shisui disregarded the feelings of his fellow clansmen, but it was not easy to participate in this matter. After all, Obito's training efficiency did improve after eating, and spicy food might have a miraculous effect on the training of fire property changes. And Obito himself said it was delicious, and he just ate it crazily while shouting that it was spicy. Of course, the main reason was that he knew that the result of saying it would be that he and Obito would eat it together. Although Shisui didn't mind spicy food, he didn't want to eat spicy food every day, and he didn't have the need to quickly improve the property changes. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book _ bar released this novel for the first time. Obito looked at Might Guy. Might Guy noticed Obito's gaze, smiled and gave him a thumbs up, saying, youth should eat more spicy food. Obito, at this time, his hands were cold and his heart was even colder. What about the family brotherhood and the friendship between the master and the disciple? At the critical moment, none of them could be relied on. Obito burst out his chakra and melted all the ice on his hands in one breath, and adjusted his goggles with his hands. Teacher, I think it's too troublesome for you to make 3 dishes separately. It would be much easier to just make more of one dish and divide it into 3 portions for us, Obito said as if he was thinking about Miyu. In this case, then everyone should not have an easy life, and die together. It sounds good. Miyu showed an expression of serious thinking. Of course, he knew what Obito was thinking, but Miyu still chose an answer that could make people laugh. Shisui's originally indifferent expression could not be maintained. He didn't expect that this brother who usually behaved a little silly would have such a quick wit in dragging people into the water. Youth should eat spicy food together. Might Guy laughed and said, so he really thought so. Obito and Shisui thought speechlessly in their hearts. Miyu thought about it and felt that it would be good to do so. The taste was guaranteed anyway. Obito, Shisui and Might Guy were all practicing fire style, so Might Guy was willing to eat it. From that day on, Obito, Shisui and Might Guy lived a hot life in the physical sense. It's so spicy, so delicious. Obito was crying because of the spiciness, but he couldn't control himself and kept eating the mapo tofu in the lunchbox. It's so spicy, it's delicious. Might Guy was also eating the mapo tofu with tears in his eyes. The difference was that Might Guy was moved, not crying because of the spiciness. Shisui, who was constantly exhaling because of the spiciness, silently pulled away from the two of them. The 3 of them went to the bathroom together, stood in, and came out together, bending over and holding the wall. At school, Lin saw that Obito always stuck his butt up for no reason, so she asked worriedly, Obito, are you feeling unwell? Obito showed a melancholy expression and said, no, it's just a little side effect of hard practice. Lin, you can't imagine how much my fire style has improved this time. I will definitely defeat Kakashi in this junior ninjutsu competition. Obito said confidently. One of the reasons why he could persist in his hard training was to wash away the previous shame, defeat Kakashi in front of Rin, and win first place. But Kakashi probably won't sign up for the competition. He's already a chunin, and this competition is usually only for us ninja school students. Nohara Rin said. She believed that Obito really practiced hard and made great progress in his strength. But Kakashi, who had become a ninja, would never participate in such a folk competition. Huh? Obito was dumbfounded. He had always assumed that Kakashi would participate. Chapter 39, Hand Speed and Eyesight Competition. Obito was a little annoyed. If Kakashi didn't participate, then it would be meaningless for him to get first place. What Obito wanted was to defeat Kakashi under the watchful eyes of Nohara Rin to avenge his previous shame and win first place. Without Kakashi, Obito wouldn't be too happy to win first place. His obsession with the first place in the junior ninjutsu tournament was entirely caused by Kakashi. In front of Nohara Rin that year, Kakashi won first place with a score that crushed him, making Obito's victory speech a lie. Obito has always remembered this incident, but he never had the ability to win before. Now that he has the ability to win everything, he finds that his opponent has jumped out, which makes Obito very unhappy. No, I have to let Kakashi participate in the competition. The more Obito thought about it, the more he felt that the competition without Kakashi would not work. You can go to Kakashi after school and ask him if he has any ideas about participating in the competition. Nohara Rin suggested. I can go with you. It just so happens that we haven't seen Kakashi for a long time. Although the three of them have a good relationship, they have fewer opportunities to meet since Kakashi graduated. As students, she and Obito need to go to school every day, and as a ninja, Kakashi also needs to go on missions. Okay. Obito nodded, thinking that Nohara Rin's idea was good. Obito asked for a day off from Miyu before school was over, so he would not go to Miyu's place after school today, and would first deal with Kakashi's matter. After school, Nohara Rin and Obito went directly to Kakashi's house. Kakashi's home is not in the main city, but in the suburbs next to the main city. Although it is not prosperous, it is not as crowded as the main city. Nohara Rin and Obito have been to Kakashi's house before, and were even invited in for dinner. Looking at the large flat floor sloping row of house that came into view, the two knew they had arrived. The two were lucky. Kakashi did not have a mission today. When they arrived at Kakashi's house, Kakashi was practicing in the yard. Kakashi held a short silver-white chakra blade and cut off the head and limbs of a scarecrow in 2 or 3 strokes. Seeing his friends coming, Kakashi exhaled lightly, inserted the chakra short blade back to his back and asked, "Why are you here? We haven't played together for a long time. We all missed you, so we came to see you." Nohara Rin said with a smile. Obito was not as polite as Nohara Rin, and asked directly, "Kakashi, the junior ninjutsu competition is about to begin. Do you want to sign up for the competition?" Junior ninjutsu competition? Kakashi thought about it and found that this was a folk competition he participated in when he was bored in school. "No, I'm not interested," Kakashi replied indifferently. In his opinion, that kind of competition is for children to play, and the reward for the first place is just a more exquisite kunai. Even when he was in the ninja school, he participated because he was bored, let alone now. Obito's face fell. Kakashi's refusal was too decisive. "Why? Didn't you participate before?" Obito asked unwillingly. He really wanted Kakashi to participate in the competition. "At that time, I was still a student of the ninja school. Now I am a chunin." Kakashi pointed to the ninja forehead protector on his head. Obito felt that Kakashi was hinting at something. He was also a student at that time, and he is still a student now. What's the difference between chunin and non-chunin? There is no age limit anyway. Obito continued. "Do you really want me to say that I am not interested in this kind of childish game?" Seeing that Obito wanted to pester him, Kakashi said mercilessly. Obito blushed a little. "What kind of game is this? It's obviously a youth ninjutsu competition. I will also participate in the competition." "Kakashi, you are not afraid of losing to me, are you?" Obito, who was a little anxious, also began to become more aggressive. "Lose to you? Have you ever beaten me?" Kakashi said expressionlessly. I Obito frantically searched his memory in his mind, and surprisingly found that he did not beat Kakashi. Obito couldn't help but blush again after discovering this frustrating fact. Kakashi, don't be so proud. I'm different now than I was before. Obito put his hands on his hips to show that he is no longer the same as before. Kakashi looked at Obito. He was wearing goggles and a sportswear. He had a silly smile on his face and his hands on his hips. He looked so silly. Kakashi said honestly, I didn't see it. Konoha swears. Obito couldn't hold it in anymore. You guys, you're still the same after finally meeting each other. Nohara-rin smiled softly while covering her mouth. This scene has been played out in front of Nohara-rin countless times. Obito likes to compete with Kakashi, but in the end, it's always Obito who suffers. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar 6 = 9 plus book _ bar released this novel for the first time. Obito took a deep breath and calmed down temporarily. He suddenly thought of his teacher Muyu. If it was teacher Muyu, what method would he use? Obito fell into thought. In order to make him practice more seriously, Muyu asked him to do one more question every time he was hit. Although practice was difficult, doing questions was more painful, so he chose the lesser of two evils and practiced more seriously to reduce the number of times he was hit. Choose the lesser of two evils. Obito suddenly had an idea and thought of a way. Kakashi, didn't you say I can't beat you? Then do you dare to bet with me once? Obito said with a provocative smile. Kakashi's expression remained unchanged, and he said lightly, bet on who will be the first in the competition? Do you think I will fall for such a stupid provocation? It is better to read more books than to participate in such a meaningless competition. Of course not. Don't you think you are very powerful? Then how about trying your eyesight or my hand speed? Obito said, if you win, I will not talk about the competition and treat you to 5 ramen. If you lose, you just need to participate in the competition. As long as Kakashi doesn't agree, he will keep pestering to participate in the junior ninjutsu competition, and then Kakashi will naturally agree to this simpler and faster competition. Kakashi didn't rush to agree, but asked, how exactly do we compete? Obito picked a leaf from the tree next to Kakashi's house and put it on his palm and said, it's very simple. I will quickly switch the leaf between my left and right hands, and you just have to guess which hand the leaf is on. Isn't it very simple? Kakashi thought about it and felt that Obito's hand speed couldn't be faster than his eyes, so he agreed directly. He knew Obito's temper, and he might keep pestering him until night. It's better to use this simple competition to let Obito know the difference between the two. Obito used his hand speed to the extreme, shaking his left and right hands wildly, and stopped after about 5 minutes. Right hand. Kakashi pointed directly to Obito's right hand where the leaf was hidden. I don't know where you got the courage to compete with me on this. Kakashi was a little disappointed. He thought Obito's hand speed could be very fast, but it turned out that the leaf never left his sight. Hearing Kakashi's words, Obito laughed and asked, Kakashi, are you sure it's this hand? If you are sure, you can't change it. You want to trick me? It's the right hand. Open it quickly. Kakashi didn't change his mind because of Obito's smile. He just thought Obito was bluffing. Then I'll open it. Obito slowly opened his right hand. I'm having a funeral today, so I wrote it a little hastily. If you have any questions, you can ask. I'll change it later. Chapter 47 Attribute Ninja. When the right hand was fully spread out, there was only a little black ash on the hand, and there was no green leaf. After the wind blew away the black ash, there was nothing left. Obito smiled proudly and said, Kakashi, it seems that you guessed wrong. Kakashi narrowed his eyes slightly, grabbed Obito's left hand and opened it. As he expected, it was empty. He thought about it for a while and figured out the cause and effect. The nature of fire attribute chakra changes. Kakashi looked at Obito in surprise. He didn't expect that Obito not only had a preliminary grasp of the nature change, but also had the brain to set a trap for him. Although the former was a bit bizarre, it was not impossible. The latter really surprised Kakashi. Ha ha ha, Kakashi, you didn't expect it. The smile on Obito's face gradually became arrogant. It's really a bit unexpected. It seems that I've been slacking off recently. Kakashi's face returned to calm, although he felt that Obito had grown a lot. Kakashi looked at Obito's arrogant face and didn't want to praise him at all. Damn Kakashi. What do you mean by that? Obito was a little unhappy. Losing to him means being lazy. Doesn't that mean he's a loser? Kakashi said calmly. It means literally. Obito originally wanted to compete with Kakashi again, but then he thought that since he had already achieved his goal, he should hurry back to practice. He won this time, but there was no chance to take shortcuts during the competition, and it was all about hard power. Forget it. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't argue with you. Remember to sign up for the competition. You won't deny your loss, will you? Obito said. I'll accept the loss. Kakashi gave the answer. Originally, he thought this competition was meaningless, but seeing how much Obito had grown, Kakashi felt that he could give it a little bit of expectation. Having achieved their goal, Nohara Rin and Obito quickly said goodbye to Kakashi and left. Obito, how did you do that just now? It feels so amazing. On the way out, Nohara Rin talked to Obito about the gambling fight just now. After receiving the praise from Nohara Rin, Obito instantly swelled up and laughed. Ha ha ha, it's just a change of chakra properties. It's not that great. Because he was too proud of himself, Obito didn't pay attention to the road and bumped into the electric pole next to Kakashi's house. Damn Kakashi. Obito thought it was caused by the location of Kakashi's electric pole. Kakashi, who was watching them leave, he took back the little bit of expectation in his heart. Isn't it completely unchanged? Still the same silly look as before. In the ninjutsu class, after Miyu finished the lecture and demonstration, he let the students practice independently. If they didn't understand something, they could ask him directly. Miyu knew the gap between theory and practice. Most of the time, it's the brain that says it sees and understands, and then the body tells it that you understand nothing. I'm used to using clones to split into my own appearance, and I feel uncomfortable splitting into other images. Gangziti scratched his head and said, why don't we ask Mr. Hanyu if he has any special techniques? Shinayu Izumo suggested. Hongdu also nodded and said, if you have any questions, just go to Mr. Hanyu. The three of them are working together to develop a new ninjutsu, combining clones with transformations, hoping to shock the whole school and get better grades in the next final exam. The three of them reached a consensus and walked to Miyu's side to tell her their problems. Miyu thought for a while and then said, you can try to start with simple objects, get familiar with this feeling, and then gradually make it more complicated. Simple objects. Gangziti fell into deep thought. Hongdu saw the chair on the podium and pointed directly at the chair and said, then start with the chair. It's simple enough, isn't it? Gangziti looked at it and nodded. The structure and shape of the chair were indeed simple enough. After all, it was just a combination of a few pieces of wood and a piece of wood. So the three of them began to practice according to Miyu's advice, and the style of the classroom gradually became strange. There were more chairs with 3 legs, 2 legs, and even 1 leg in the classroom. It seems that the chair is not as easy as imagined. Shanuchion scratched his head a little embarrassedly. The one-legged chair was transformed by him. Are you trying to make me laugh to death, Izumo? Gangziti pointed at Shenu Izumo's one-legged chair and laughed loudly. Gangziti's movement attracted the attention of the students in the whole classroom, and then they were all amused by this magical chair. Isn't your 2-legged chair strange? Shenu Izumo blushed and retorted. Everyone looked at the chair next to Gangziti, which had 1 leg in front and 1 leg in the back, and on the same side, and couldn't help laughing again. You two can't do it. You have to look at me, the second in the grade. Hongdu crossed her arms and saw that her chair not only had 3 legs, but was also walking around her. The error-free version is available at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book_bar released this novel for the first time. Looking at this strange scene, the students in the classroom couldn't hold it anymore. As the school was about to end, the laughter even attracted students from other classes to come and watch. Amidst the laughter, the school bell rang, and Miyu also announced the end of Get Out of Class. Lecture completed. Evaluation. A. Reward. Palm Immortal Technique. A memory about the practice and use of Palm Immortal Technique entered Miyu's mind. I'm lucky today. Miyu nodded secretly when she saw that the reward was the Palm Magic. The Palm Magic is not an ordinary medical ninjutsu, but a very advanced medical ninjutsu. There are not many medical ninjas in Konoha who master the palm magic. The palm magic can not only treat external injuries, but also internal diseases. It is very powerful in treatment. With the palm magic, Obito can practice the nature change more safely, and he can be treated immediately when he is injured. Now the 7 attributes are complete. Muyu thought to himself, the palm magic belongs to the yang attribute chakra nature change. Because he did not master this attribute, the system gave him some nature change practice memory as usual. In addition to the previous yin escape illusion, he has mastered the nature change of 7 attributes. After school, Muyu usually practiced with his disciples. After the practice, he did not return to the main city, but stayed in his residence in the southern forest. Today is the day for him to report to the root organization on his mission. Since Shisui's personality is different from that of ordinary Uchiha, Muyu reported truthfully in this regard, and used a little writing technique in other places. For example, in the grade practical test, Hyuga Komodo defeated his opponent with ease, showing his genius, while Obito and Might Guy won by chance, mostly due to luck. On the Asuma mission, Muyu said that he had been successfully recognized as a teacher by Asuma, and asked if he wanted to try to bring Asuma into the root organization. As long as Danzo didn't have Alzheimer's, Muyu believed that Danzo would not give him a positive answer. The reason for reporting like this is nothing more than to let Danzo know that he completed the mission very well and has been recognized by Asuma, and by the way, to express his loyalty to the root. I didn't sleep well yesterday. I had a funeral in the morning and made up for my sleep in the afternoon, so the update is a little late. Chapter 41, Cultivation and Progress. The root organization moved very quickly. As soon as Muyu reported, a root organization ninja quietly came to his yard the next morning. This is the order of Lord Danzo. The root organization ninja handed 2 scrolls to Muyu. Muyu nodded and took the scrolls. Muyu first opened the scroll that assigned the task. As before, the root organization ninja did not say too much nonsense. After delivering the things, he left directly. Sensing that the root organization ninja's aura disappeared, Muyu walked into the house and began to check the contents of the scroll. It was almost the same as before. The first part was Puwa content, praising Muyu for completing the task well, not living up to the organization's training, but still needing to work hard. Muyu mainly read the content at the end. Danzo answered Muyu's last question about whether he wanted to pull Asuma into the root organization. That is, no need. Danzo said that Muyu only needed to teach Asuma normally and become Asuma's important teacher, and did not need to do other unnecessary things. He also told Muyu not to expose abnormalities. This answer was similar to what Muyu expected. Pulling Asuma into the root organization is like Danzo sitting in the Hokage's office, waiting for you to regret it. Although Danzo's root organization is not weak, it has become so powerful because it absorbs nutrients from the Anbu. It is too easy for Sarutobi Hiruzen, the real Hokage, to control the root. In addition, he should keep an eye on the Uchiha students and evaluate whether they have a tendency to rebel against Konoha, and pay attention to the emergence of geniuses that can be absorbed by the root. As for the other scroll, it is a few high-level secret medicines that are difficult to buy. As a reward for Muyu's excellent completion of the task, Muyu put away the scroll with the secret medicine and burned the other scroll. In this world, a stable life has become a luxury. Muyu swept the ashes into the trash can and looked at the yard with an indifferent expression. This kind of life where there is a fully armed ninja standing in the yard in the morning makes him very uncomfortable. But Muyu has no choice now. He has thought about whether to directly expose his strength when teaching Asuma, let Sarutobi see his value, and then jump to the 3rd generation, so that the curse seal problem can be solved. This idea was quickly rejected by Muyu. He could change jobs by being appreciated by Sarutobi, but he couldn't expose his strength. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know his specific strength and the ninjutsu he had learned, so as long as he didn't expose the ninjutsu like water break wave, it could basically explain it. But it was different for Danzo. The original owner was trained by Danzo and knew too much information. If he changed jobs by exposing his strength, Danzo might tell the 3rd generation about Muyu and treat him as a spy. Muyu believed that there were only 3 situations in which he could expose his strength. One was that Danzo was going to use him as consumables, so he would expose his strength and find an opportunity to improve it. The second was to wait until his strength reached the level of the 3 ninjas, so that he could take action during the war and help Konoha in times of trouble. Even if he didn't know where he got this strength, Muyu would only become a hero, not a spy. The third was that he had the power to overthrow Konoha, and it didn't matter whether he was exposed or not at that time. Muyu adjusted his expression and went to the ninja school, walked into the office and the classroom with a gentle smile. When you don't have enough strength, you should be a gentle and warm man that everyone likes. On Saturday, Obito went to the training ground early to start training. He picked up a palm-sized ice cube and placed it on his palm, condensing chakra in his palm, and began to practice the nature change. After about 10 seconds, the ice cube disappeared, and the water marks on the ground were proof of its existence. Muyu beside him nodded. 6 days ago, Obito's melting speed was not even as fast as the speed of the ice cube's natural melting. It was beyond expectations to reach this level in 6 days of training. After all, he had never thought that he would have the skill of a chef, and he did not expect that this life skill could be used in the nature change training. Mapo Tofu was a great contributor to his progress to this level in a short time. You have already mastered the trick of nature change. The next step is to continuously increase your maximum output, Muyu said, and took out a human head-sized ice cube from the wooden barrel and placed it on the ground. Your next goal is to melt this ice cube within 10 seconds. Muyu announced that the training had entered the next stage. This is too big. Obito scratched his head as he looked at the human head-sized ice cube, which had grown too much. This time we are pursuing the limit of the instantaneous change of the nature. You don't have to worry about the consumption of chakra. Use it with all your strength. Rest when you are tired, and continue to practice after resting. This stage requires time to grind. Unless you have the vitality and chakra of Naruto, you can unscrupulously divide a large number of shadow clones to gain experience. Compared with Naruto, who is hanging on the wall, Obito is already good compared to ordinary people. After all, the teaching skills are somewhat useful, and there are special dishes to bless the state. When it was almost noon, Muyu asked the 3 disciples to stop practicing. The error-free version is available at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel. You should be tired of eating the same dishes every day. Let's have hot pot today, Muyu said with a smile. Although with the blessing of skills, students who have always had the same dish should also be very happy, but Muyu pursues a higher degree of trust, so he has to do better. Great, finally I don't have to eat that super spicy tofu. Obito jumped up excitedly. It's not that Mapo tofu is not delicious, but eating it every day will make it extremely painful to go to the toilet. I only prepared the base of the pot. As for the ingredients, it depends on what you find later. Muyu continued. I want to eat fish. Obito took out his kunai and ran to the river to prepare to stab the fish. I'll help you. The enthusiastic Might Guy heard that Obito wanted to eat fish and sprinted into the water with 100 meters, splashing a lot of water. Obito, who was looking for an opportunity to stab the fish, was directly drenched. Obito's fist hardened. The next moment, Might Guy floated up with 2 fish and looked at Obito with a puzzled look and asked, Obito, you called me? Yes, I want to say that Uchiha is really nice, worthy of being a good brother. Obito looked at the 2 fresh fish in Might Guy's hand, and his face changed instantly and praised. Shisui dug some wild vegetables and mushrooms in the forest. The 3 of them also worked together to kill a wild boar. Might Guy attracted attention. Shisui attacked Obito to assist, and the 3 of them worked together to take down the wild boar. Muyu cooked the base of the pot first, and then processed the ingredients they brought. He separated several shadow clones to work together and quickly processed the ingredients. In fact, wild boars and fish are a little more troublesome, and wild vegetables and mushrooms are washed and cut in half and put directly in. There is no fire, just let Obito put his hands down to act as a human heater, and also regard it as practice. The 4 masters and apprentices solved their lunch in the forest with local ingredients. Although there are no overly complicated procedures, and the ingredients are just local ingredients, and they are not as delicious as Miyu's direct cooking, but Shisui is very happy to eat and feels very warm. This is a feeling that he rarely experiences as he lost both his parents at a very young age. Disciple Uchiha Shisui's trust level has been increased, and the current trust level is 3. Miyu picked up the fish in the pot and ate it, and he also smiled. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. Miyu is interested in the sealing technique. On Saturday afternoon, Miyu returned to his house in the main city. Since the two sides had eaten and drank with each other several times, their relationship became familiar. Miyu directly called the two to his house before cooking. "Hanyu, what are you going to cook today?" Kushina asked curiously. Kushina had never eaten the same dish twice in the several meals she had eaten at Miyu's house. The variety of dishes was not a big deal. The key was that Miyu could cook them deliciously, which made Kushina admire and envy him. Mushroom soup and stir-fried mushrooms. Miyu pointed to a plastic bag full of mushrooms next to the sink and said. At noon, Shisui and the others had too many ingredients, including various fish and wild vegetables, and even killed a wild boar together. Miyu took the uneaten ingredients home. Apart from anything else, wild mushrooms are indeed fresh, but they must be cooked thoroughly, otherwise food poisoning will be suffered. Diarrhea is a small matter, and lying on the board is also possible. Are these wild mushrooms picked in the forest? Kushina looked at the different types and sizes of mushrooms and felt that they were not bought. This reminded her of the teasing she had made to Miyu when she first ate at Miyu's house. Did they add some strange colored mushrooms to make her hallucinate? If there really was that kind of mushroom in the food, plus Miyu's cooking skills, wouldn't it be like being under an illusion when eating it? Miyu nodded and said, I had a picnic in the forest with a few students at noon today. I made too much food and didn't finish it, so I took the extra home. Hanyu, you also took students on a picnic? Kushina asked with some envy. She had been in the ninja school for 6 years and had never seen a teacher who was so nice and took students on a picnic. Those students and I have a good relationship, Miyu explained. Hanyu, do you want to help? I'll wash the vegetables. Minato, who was embarrassed to eat for free, took the initiative to help. Then Namikaze, help me wash the mushrooms. I'll deal with the wild boar meat first. Miyu didn't hesitate and directly assigned Minato a job. If you are always too polite, it will not be conducive to the improvement of friendship. Feelings are something that can only be improved through give and take. Because there were 3 people eating, in addition to mushroom soup and stir-fried mushrooms, Miyu also prepared a portion of braised pork with pork belly. In his previous life, he didn't know why he wanted to vomit when he ate fatty meat, but he could accept the fat and braised pork belly, and even thought that braised pork belly with fat and lean meat was more delicious. Braised pork with preserved vegetables was a dish he liked very much, but there was no preserved vegetables at the moment, so he could only make braised pork belly instead of braised pork with preserved vegetables. What about me? What should I do? Looking at the backs of Minato and Miyu, Kushina scratched her head. Why did she feel that they were 2 brothers who had a good relationship and cooked together, and she became an outsider? There is no more space here. Just sit down and wait for dinner. Miyu replied, this is not a restaurant kitchen. 3 people working together will only make things more complicated. 2 people are just right, and there is not much need for help. So the bored Kushina sat on the chair in the living room, and she casually picked up a book on the low table. Kushina was a little surprised to see the title of the book on the cover, and it was a book about sealing techniques. What is sealing technique? Hanyu, why are you still reading this kind of book? The name alone says it's not good. It's better to. Kushina paused because she turned the page and saw the words Uzumaki Ashina's masterpiece. Ahem. This book is not bad. Miyu, you can take a good look at it. Kushina coughed twice and reorganized her words. Well, I've read it several times. Uzumaki Ashina is indeed the founder of Konoha's sealing technique. Even someone like me who doesn't know anything about sealing technique can gain a lot from reading it. Muayu answered while processing the pork. Of course, this is the patriarch of our Uzumaki clan, Kushina said proudly. But Muayu, are you still interested in sealing technique? Kushina asked curiously. Very interested. I feel that sealing technique is very mysterious and powerful, Muayu said with a look of longing. From the perspective of improving strength, sealing technique is indeed a good choice. Minato nodded and said. The three of them talked about sealing technique until the meal was finished. Muayu spent most of the time listening, occasionally speaking out some new ideas, which made Minato and Kushina feel more accomplished. Kushina first tried the braised pork, which she had never eaten before. The soft, glutinous, and non-greasy taste made Kushina take a big mouthful of rice. This is so delicious. Why haven't I seen such a delicious dish before? Kushina fell in love with the taste of braised pork at once. If you want to learn, I can teach you, Muayu said with a smile. It's a deal. Minato and I will buy the food for you tomorrow night. Kushina nodded quickly. After speaking, Kushina glanced at the plate of stir-fried mushrooms, and then found that most of it was gone. Minato kept eating while they were discussing how to cook. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book _ bar released this novel for the first time. I haven't eaten yet. Minato, leave some for me. Kushina didn't care about anything else, and quickly started eating. The first bite also successfully amazed Kushina. It was so delicious. After eating and drinking, the three of them went out for a walk together. It was inevitable to chat while walking. Muayu talked about some interesting things during teaching, and Minato and Kushina also talked about some strange things when they were doing tasks. 2 days before the competition, Muayu began to conduct the final training for Obito. If you want the ninjutsu to look more powerful, in addition to changing the nature and the amount of chakra, you can also make it look more powerful by changing the form, Muayu said. But there are only 2 days left. Is it too late to practice the form change? Obito scratched his head and said. Of course not. Muayu said directly that Obito did not have such a strong talent in ninjutsu. But you don't need to control the form change. You just need to master my improved Great Fireball. In order to let Obito get the first place and maximize the reward for the training task, Muayu can be said to have taken great pains. He specially modified the Great Fireball to make it look bigger. But in fact there is not so much flame inside, and the power remains unchanged. In short, it looks bluffing. Anyway, there is no fighting in the junior ninjutsu competition. Each person will perform a ninjutsu to see who gets the higher score. Teacher Muayu, you are my 6 paths sage. When Obito heard Muyu's words, he instantly felt that the first place was a sure thing. Kakashi had no chance of winning against himself, who was taught by teacher Muayu. After all, you have said something like a lifetime request, so of course I, as your teacher, have to do my best, Muayu said with a smile, intentionally cultivating Obito's awareness of asking the teacher for help. Hehe. Obito smiled embarrassedly. Practice hard. Muayu knocked on Obito's head. Yes. Obito started practicing immediately. He couldn't wait to defeat Kakashi in front of Nohara Rin and take first place. Chapter 43. The game begins. In the evening, at the Uchiha clan's place. Obito, don't eat so fast. Be careful not to choke. Hearing his grandmother's words, Obito ate his rice a little slower and explained. Grandma, a friend asked me to go out and play. Which friend? Is it Zealand? Obito's grandmother looked at Obito and asked with a smile. Since Nohara Rin often came to play with Obito, Obito's grandmother also knew Nohara Rin. Yes, but there are others too, Obito replied while eating. The junior ninjutsu competition will start tomorrow. Today he really practiced hard all day, which made him exhausted, maybe because he and Kakashi will become competitors again tomorrow. Nohara Rin invited them to come out tonight to play and relax. Because of Kakashi, Obito also asked Might Guy to come with him. I'm full. After eating, Obito wiped his mouth and prepared to go out in a hurry. Obito's grandmother followed him to the entrance and said with a smile, Come on, Obito, I still want to see my great-grandson. Obito almost fell to the ground, turned around and shouted with a red face, Grandma, I'm still in school. Although he did have some ideas in his mind, he was too young now. Everyone agreed to meet at the street in the south of the main city. When Obito arrived, he found that the other 3 had already arrived, and he was the last one. I met an old lady who needed help on the road, so I was a little slow, Obito explained. You really often meet old ladies, it's like this every time. Kakashi felt that this was somewhat outrageous. I don't know, but when you see an old lady who needs help, you can't just ignore her. Obito felt a little wrong because he did help the old lady on the road. Okay, it's okay. It should be that Obito is too kind and has a pair of eyes that are good at finding people in need of help. Nohara walked between the two with her hands behind her back and smiled gently. After resolving this episode, the 4 walked on the street together. There are so many people, how about Kakashi? Let's compete to see who can get through the crowd faster. Might Guy couldn't help asking as he looked at the densely packed streets. Excuse me. Kakashi refused decisively, leaving no room for Might Guy's fantasy. This challenge was too stupid. There is an event on this street today. So many people are here, Nohara explained. Then Nohara led the 3 to the event site. The whole street was full of vendors, brightly lit, and people in yukatas walked together. Look, this goldfish is so cute. Nohara found a stall for catching goldfish and waved to everyone with a smile. Little sister, do you want to try it? You only need 10 taels to buy a net. The stall owner tempted. 10 taels. Nohara showed a thoughtful expression. It's nothing to just 10 taels, but a net may not work. This kind of paper net is too easy to break. Let me try. Obito volunteered to step forward and handed the owner the money for a net. Obito directly set his sights on the most active and best-looking fish. As a result, after 2 or 3 attempts, he didn't catch any fish, and the net broke. Try again. Obito was not discouraged and tried again, but still failed. It was not until the 9th time that Nohara directly stopped Obito and said, "Forget it. Let's go somewhere else. 80 taels are enough to buy a bowl of ramen, but I've tried so many times, and I'm more proficient than before." Wouldn't it be a loss to end it now? Obito said hesitantly. I'll try it too. Might Guy, who had never played before, rolled up his sleeves and prepared to catch the fish with all his strength. Snap! The stick tied to the finger net broke directly. Let me do it, Kakashi said lightly, handed the 10 taels to the boss, and caught a goldfish with a casual net. Here you go. Kakashi handed the fish packed by the boss to Nohara. Nohara smiled happily and said, "Thank you, Kakashi." Then she added, "Thank you, Obito and Gay." Obito, who had been looking miserable, suddenly smiled foolishly. Then the 4 of them played around together, using shuriken to poke handles, identifying the real body of the clone. When there were fewer people on the street, they prepared to buy some octopus balls and go home. Kakashi, you just wait and see tomorrow. I will definitely be the first this time. Obito took a bite of the octopus balls and did not forget to say something harsh. If you want the first prize, I can give it to you after I get it. Kakashi was quite aggressive at this time. The 2 of them said harsh words to each other, which made Might Guy's blood boil. If there was a youth physical training competition, he would definitely invite Kakashi to compete. Read the correct version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. The next day, because it was Sunday, there was no school. The competition started in the afternoon, and Obito went to practice for the last time in the morning. The venue for the junior ninjutsu competition was a commercial street in the main city of Konoha. Obito heard that it was held by an old ninja store manager to encourage students of the ninja school. Later, everyone saw that it could attract traffic, so they pooled money to hold it every year. Obito, which ninjutsu are you going to use this time? Nohara asked. The Great Fireball Jutsu. Obito did not keep it a secret, but told Nohara directly. Aren't you going to use the Great Dragon Fire Jutsu that you used in the previous practical test? Nohara was a little puzzled. The last time Obito lost to Kakashi, he used the Great Fireball Jutsu, which scored a full 30 points, 9 points lower than Kakashi. This time is different from the last time. Now my Great Fireball Jutsu is very strong. Obito showed a confident look. He believed that his Great Fireball Jutsu would definitely shock the audience. Well, then I look forward to your performance. Nohara smiled gently. Obito, come on, as my nemesis. That man is not so easy to defeat. Might Guy crossed his arms and said with an unfathomable look on his face, "You want me to leave?" Kakashi, who had been silent on the side, said, "Why are they discussing how to beat him in front of him?" "Kakashi, what ninjutsu are you going to use?" Nohara-rin asked with a smile. "I haven't thought about it yet, I'll just use any one when the time comes. Maybe I'll use the earth flow wall." Kakashi thought for a while and said, "This is not pretending, because he has mastered quite a few ninjutsu, and he can really use them at will in this kind of competition." Obito looked around and saw many familiar faces from the ninja school, and also saw two ninjas wearing forehead protectors. There are a lot more people this time than last time. Obito recalled the last competition and said, "Because the rewards have increased, the first place this time will not only have an exquisite silver-plated kunai, but also a bonus of 8,000 taels." Nohara-rin said, 8,000 taels. Obito opened his eyes wide, and he was more determined to win the first place. "This is 8,000 taels. Whether it is to treat Rin to a meal or give her a gift, it will be very easy." The game begins. Please invite contestant number 1 to perform. Chapter 44 Ninjutsu Talent. Very good. Thank you for the clone jutsu of contestant number 1. His score is 8 points. Next, we invite contestant number 2 to perform. Mr. Miyu, why did you come to watch this kind of competition? It feels like a waste of time. There are not many official ninjas in this kind of competition. Asuma saw the poor clone jutsu of the contestants on the stage as soon as he arrived at the scene, and asked in confusion. Miyu smiled and said, "Asuma, have you forgotten your last battle with Shisui? Never underestimate anyone." Asuma was speechless for a moment. If Miyu hadn't comforted him in time during the battle with Uchiha Shisui, he might have been beaten into autism. "It's good to know more about the strength of people of the same age in the village," Miyu said casually. "The main reason is that he is afraid that Obito will fail, and it will be more reassuring to watch it on sight." Asuma looked around and felt that he saw some familiar faces. "Kakashi is here too. Is he also participating in the competition? That's really a bit of bullying." Asuma soon found Kakashi and his group. He and Kakashi are friends, and he knows how perverted this guy is. He graduated at the age of 5 and became a chunin at the age of 6. His talent is extremely terrifying, while others are still learning to make hand seals and practice the three-body technique. Kakashi has already started to practice various ninjutsu and cultivate the nature of change. Not only Kakashi, Asuma also saw Uchiha Shisui who defeated him before. Asuma is looking forward to the match between Uchiha Shisui and Kakashi. The two big perverts can have fun by themselves. Please welcome the second contestant, Gang Ziti. The host called the name of the second contestant with enthusiasm. Gang Ziti immediately walked to the stage after hearing it. "Ziti, come on." Shinayu Izumo cheered for his good brother. He felt that he had not practiced enough, so he did not participate in the competition. Hongdu was interested in participating, but she had something to do today and could not come to participate. Contestant Gang Ziti, which ninjutsu do you want to perform? The host bent over and asked with a smile. "I want to perform the enemy confusing technique that I developed with my friend," Gang Ziti said proudly. Shinu Izumo in the audience showed a proud smile. He also contributed to this ninjutsu. You really can't underestimate the new generation now. Although our contestant Gang Ziti is young, he has already started to develop new ninjutsu. The host couldn't help but praise him. "Excuse me, contestant Gang Ziti, what grade are you in the ninja school now?" the host asked. Gang Ziti answered honestly, "First grade." "Incredible." The host was very surprised. Now the first-year students have not studied for more than 2 months. It is considered a good learning to be able to use the three-body technique. The audience also felt incredible, especially the other second and third grade students, who felt that they had learned in vain. Miyu had already vaguely guessed what ninjutsu Gang Ziti would perform, but she didn't know to what extent he would complete it. The host stepped back and said, "Next, please enjoy the confusing technique of Gang Ziti." Gang Ziti quickly formed a seal to guide the chakra. With a puff, white smoke flashed, and a chair taller than Gang Ziti appeared on the stage. Silence. The scene fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at the chair next to Gang Ziti, which was taller than him, with a puzzled look on their faces. Wondering what it was, the host thought that he had been hosting the competition for 5 years and would not be at a loss for any ninjutsu, but today he lost. He stood there for a while and did not go on stage immediately. Ahem, contestant Gangziti, your ninjutsu. The host didn't know how to ask for a while. Isn't the clone technique used to confuse the enemy? My ninjutsu mainly combines the clone technique with the transformation technique to achieve a better confusing effect. Gangziti said the original intention of developing ninjutsu. Then why is it a chair? The host couldn't help asking. He didn't know whether the enemy would be confused, but his teammates must have had questions in their hearts. Because the chair is easy to change, and it can't change into anything else now. Gangziti said honestly. Ha ha ha. The audience burst into laughter. They thought a genius boy had come, but it turned out to be a fool. This kid is really talented. Asuma's mouth twitched. Just now he underestimated how many geniuses there are now. They developed ninjutsu in the 1st grade. They were the reincarnation of the 2nd generation Hokage, right? But in the blink of an eye, they turned around. Teacher Miyu, are all the students in the ninja school like this now? Asuma couldn't help but complain. Miyu was also a little speechless. She asked you to start with a chair. How come you can only turn into a chair? In fact, from the level of mastery, it is not bad for a first-year student to have such a level of clone and transformation. After all, he is a student in her class. Miyu commented objectively. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. After hearing Miyu's words, Asuma realized that Gangziti was just a first-year student, not a ninja, and this level was already excellent. Teacher Miyu, you are still amazing. You are not confused by appearances. Looking at the people around laughing, Asuma suddenly felt a sense of superiority. After everyone laughed, Izumo Kamatsuki became quiet. He was glad that he didn't participate in the competition. With so many students from the same school, the news would definitely spread throughout the school. His student life would be over by then. Let's see the judges' scores. There are a total of 12 points. In fact, the original intention of this ninjutsu is good. If it can be improved, it should get a high score. The host said, I will continue to work hard to improve this ninjutsu that we developed together with my 2 good brothers, Izumo Kamatsuki and Mitarashi Anko. Gangziti said with a smile, and deliberately said his full name. It turns out that the other 2 people are called Izumo Kamatsuki and Mitarashi Anko. I wonder if they are here. Hearing the discussion of the people around him, Izumo Kamatsuki's face turned pale. If this reputation spreads, how can he find a girlfriend? Next, please invite contestant number 3, Akaya Tetsu, to perform on stage. Great Fireball Jutsu. Akaya Tetsu didn't say much. He directly took out his best Great Fireball Jutsu and quickly formed a seal to spray out a fireball as high as a person. As expected of a young man from the Akaya clan, he has mastered such a powerful ninjutsu as the Great Fireball before he even graduated. The host exclaimed. It's amazing for a genin to master this ninjutsu. A referee said and gave a high score. The other referees nodded and gave high scores. 26 points. Akaya Tetsuka scored 26 points and is currently ranked first. The host shouted. With his 5 years of experience in hosting competitions, there were no abnormal players, and 26 points would definitely take first place. Akaya Tetsuka walked off the stage with a calm face. If it weren't for the 8,000 ryo, he would not be interested in participating in such a competition. Shisui, what do you think of my Great Fireball just now? Akaya Tetsuka asked. It can be seen that brother Tetsuka has practiced hard, Shisui commented. In fact, he was going to join Obito, but he met Akaya Tetsuka and other clan members on the way, so he joined them. Although Akaya Tetsuka's Great Fireball level is okay, Shisui doesn't think he can be first, because he has seen Obito's Great Fireball. Now, please welcome contestant number 4, Akaya Obito, to the stage to perform. I'll try my best today to see if I can add more chapters. I'll add one more chapter in the evening. The extra chapter will be released after midnight. Chapter 45 The Fireball That Shocked Everyone. Obito, it's your turn. Nohara Rin reminded. Obito nodded and quickly walked onto the stage. Obito, Come on. Nohara Rin clenched her fists and cheered for Obito. Obito, this time it's your turn to fight Kakashi, show all your hard work. Might Guy also cheered for Obito. They practiced together with Miyu, and he saw Obito's efforts. Don't lose to others before I get to the stage, Kakashi said lightly, encouraging Obito in his own way. Kakashi's encouragement was very effective, and Obito turned around and said, impossible. You just wait and see. Another Uchiha boy, it's really rare. I wonder what kind of wonderful performance he can bring to us. The host sighed that it was different after adding money. Even to Uchiha came. Obito also participated in the competition. He is a bit unlucky. There happened to be an Uchiha who performed so well in front of him. The comparison is not embarrassing. Asuma has begun to feel embarrassed for Obito. He has known Obito for more than 3 years, and he knows Obito's level very well. Although he has also learned the Great Fireball, his level is really average. He is also participating in the competition. Uchiha Chiyo frowned when he saw Obito walking on the stage, feeling that the 8,000 Ryo might not be stable. But those judges are average, and they may not be able to see the power of the Great Dragon Fire technique. Uchiha Chiyo thought of another level. Although the Great Dragon Fire technique is a B-level fire escape ninjutsu, the difficulty of learning is 1 level higher than the Great Fireball, but in terms of visual effect, it is not as good as the Great Fireball. Uchiha Obito, what ninjutsu are you going to perform? The host asked as usual. I'm going to use the Fire Release Great Fireball technique, Obito replied confidently. It's also the Great Fireball technique. Have all the young men of Uchiha mastered this ninjutsu? It's worthy of being a rich family. Let's look forward to the performance of Uchiha Obito, the host said while retreating. A large-scale killing ninjutsu like the Great Fireball should still be kept at a safe distance. Could it be that he has mastered the Great Dragon Fire and also has a high level of proficiency in the Great Fireball? Uchiha Chiyo felt that it was a little unrealistic. He was 100% sure that Shisui could do this. As for Obito, he was previously called the last one in the Uchiha. Obito stood on the stage and looked at the audience not far below. From here, he could see everyone clearly. Nohara Rin was cheering him on with a smile on her face. Might Guy showed his shining white teeth and gave him a thumbs up. Kakashi kept looking at the stage. Shisui seemed to be saying come on. Asuma looked regretful. Miyu, hey, teacher Miyu. Obito showed a surprised expression when he saw Miyu. His only regret today was that Miyu had to be a tutor and couldn't come to watch his game. Obito was very grateful to Miyu. Miyu helped him get rid of the title of the last one in the Uchiha, let him defeat Uchiha Chiyo and become the second in the class, and also let him pass the theory test that he had never passed. The fact that he could stand here with a confident face was also closely related to Miyu. During the 20 days of special training, he was not the only one who worked hard. Miyu tried every possible way to improve his strength, even improving his ninjutsu. If Miyu could not see his wonderful performance when he won the first place, Obito felt it was a pity. Noticing Obito's gaze, Miyu smiled and greeted Obito. I can't let down those who cheered for me. Obito took a deep breath and entered an unprecedented serious state. He still couldn't forget the failure that year. This time, he wanted to win everything. Fire style, Great Fireball technique. Obito skillfully formed a seal, and a large amount of chakra gathered in his throat. He changed the nature of all the gathered chakra and then spit it out instantly. Whoosh whoosh. Waves of fierce flames spit out from Obito's mouth, quickly forming an orange-red fireball and then rapidly growing. In the end, it was 4 meters high, almost 3 times Obito's current height. How could this be a fire-style ninjutsu that a ninja school student could perform? A judge saw this spectacular huge fireball and looked like he had seen a ghost. Another judge rubbed his eyes, also with an incredible look on his face. Uchiha Obito's great fireball is beyond ordinary people's level. Even the judges are surprised. The host was surprised and did not forget to explain. After 5 years of commentary, this level of great fireball is the first time he has seen it, especially when the caster is a student of the ninja school. How is this level of great fireball possible? Uchiha Chiyo felt that he might have been under an illusion. He would rather believe that he was under an illusion than believe that Obito could have such a powerful great fireball when he mastered the Great Dragon Fire. With such a powerful great fireball, Obito didn't need any routines that day. and he would definitely not be his opponent if he directly fought him. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. Is this Obito's great fireball? Asuma rubbed his eyes, feeling a little unreal. Teacher, hit me. I feel like I'm under an illusion, Asuma said to Miyu. Miyu met Asuma's request and knocked Asuma's head with 2 fingers together. It hurts. Asuma looked at Obito, who was still on the stage and the huge fireball in front of him. His mouth wide open, already shocked beyond words. He admitted that he was defeated by Uchiha Shisui. This was a genius who might be even more perverted than Kakashi. But Obito was his old friend. How could he not know his strength? What the hell is this huge fireball that is almost as high as a house? He has been hiding his strength and not showing it before, right? Even Obito has such strength. Am I really that bad? Asuma was a little skeptical about life. He felt that he had to work hard. Otherwise, let alone surpassing the 3rd generation, he would be considered low among his friends. With this level of huge fireball, it's no wonder he was so confident before. Kakashi looked at Obito's huge fireball and felt that Obito had made great progress. It was so big that Kakashi was a little confused. Obito hadn't graduated yet, so why did he have such a huge improvement? Generally, he would enter a period of rapid growth and strength after graduation. 10 points, 10 points, 10 points. Uchiha Obito's total score is 30 points. He got a perfect score and locked in the first place in advance. The host shouted excitedly. All the judges gave Obito full marks, which is a very rare situation. Did you use any tricks? With his Byakugan turned on, Hyuga came and saw through Obito's fireball. It looked bluffing, but it was not that exaggerated. He came with his friends, and now it seems that Obito should be the first. However, Hyuga came and didn't think that Obito could beat him in the next final exam, because he would make Obito unable to use ninjutsu. The host said that the first place has been locked in advance. Obito, you are really amazing. Nohara-rin praised Obito, who was stepping down. Hehe. Obito couldn't help but smile. Don't be happy too early. When it comes to me, maybe they will make an exception and give a higher score. Kakashi told Obito not to be happy too early. Next, please invite the 5th contestant, Hatake Kakashi, to perform on stage. After Kakashi finished speaking, the host called Kakashi's name. Chapter 46, Changes in the Nature of Yin Chakra. Kakashi appeared on the stage in a flash. Kakashi, keep going. Nohara-rin cheered for Kakashi. Seeing Kakashi use the instant body technique on the stage, Obito felt that Kakashi was really pretentious and he would have to learn the instant body technique in the future. Kakashi Hatake is not ordinary. He is a famous genius in our Konoha. I remember this is your 2nd time participating in the competition. Because Kakashi is more famous, the host introduced him a little more. Yeah, Kakashi nodded calmly without saying much, with a cold attitude. Kakashi Hatake, what ninjutsu are you going to perform this time? Asked the host. Earth Flow Wall, Kakashi replied. After the host stepped back, Kakashi quickly formed a seal and his chakra burst out. Earth Style, Earth Flow Wall. As Kakashi used the ninjutsu, the scene shook, and then an extremely thick giant wall slowly rose from behind Kakashi. This level of Earth Style ninjutsu. The judges looked at the long and thick Earth Flow Wall and fell into thought for a while. If it was a ninjutsu of this level before, he would definitely give full marks directly, but now there is already a full mark, and if there is one more full mark, wouldn't it be 2 first places? The judge thought about it, and finally raised the sign with 10 on it. It's better to leave this matter to the organizer. This guy is still as perverted as before. Asuma was not surprised by Kakashi's strength. If you want to defeat Kakashi who uses ninjutsu, you have to keep working hard. Might Guy remembered the battle that day when Kakashi used all his strength. That time it was almost a crushing victory, except that Konoha tornado kicked him unexpectedly once, and he had no power to fight back afterwards. Seeing that a judge gave 10 points, Obito felt a little uneasy. If Kakashi also got full marks, who would be the first at that time? 10, 10, 10. The total score of contestant Hatake Kakashi is 30 points. Incredible. This is the 2nd full mark in today's competition. and it is also the first time since the competition was held that there are 2 full marks, the host exclaimed. The quality of the contestants in this competition was surprisingly high, with 2 players scoring full marks. For example, Uchiha Tetsuka's level would have been enough to win first place in the last competition. What bad luck! Uchiha Tetsuka was a little depressed. He thought he could win first place, but he was squeezed to third place. He was also convinced of his defeat, because the ninjutsu performed by Kakashi and Obito were indeed strong. If only Shisui participated, you would definitely get full marks, Uchiha Tetsuka said. He was confident in Shisui, although he was 2 years older than Shisui. He thought he was no match for Shisui. Shisui smiled and said nothing. He didn't have any idea about this competition, and since Obito wanted to win first place so much, he would not participate. Are you satisfied now? If you want to beat me, practice for a few more years. Kakashi stepped down and said to Obito, why are you so arrogant? Everyone got 30 points, and I got it earlier than you. Logically, I won, Obito retorted unconvinced. You can get 30 points because you can only get 30 points, and I got 30 points because it is the highest 30 points, Kakashi said calmly. Obito couldn't argue with Kakashi, and his face began to redden. Okay, you are all very good, no need to argue. No Harlan stood between the two and smiled helplessly. Near the competition venue, the organizers and merchants began to discuss. How can we get 2 full marks this time? How to determine the rankings now? Why not have an extra match and let them use other ninjutsu to compete again? A merchant suggested. This way, it would be better to determine the first place, but it's not good. One party is still a student, and it's already very powerful to master such a fire escape ninjutsu. A merchant thought it was inappropriate. Can't we tie for first place? A voice suddenly interrupted. The merchants felt that the voice was a little strange, and then they realized that a blond man with a forehead protector had come to their side without knowing when. You can also use the double first place as a gimmick to celebrate with discounts to attract more people to shop. Miyu smiled and suggested, this is a good idea. The merchants thought that Miyu's proposal was very attractive. One of the purposes of holding this competition is to increase the flow of people in the commercial street. If more people can be attracted to buy things, it would be great. Any more will be earned back. After all, the prize money for the first prize is only 8,000 taels. This ninja master, do you have the idea of opening a store here? A shopkeeper felt that Miyu had a good business sense, so he invited her. No, I'm just an ordinary chunin passing by. Your competition is very good. It can promote the enthusiasm of the young people in the village to practice. Miyu praised and left. The error-free version is available at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book_bar released this novel for the first time. If Obito and Kakashi were to play a tiebreaker, Obito would definitely not be able to beat Kakashi. For Obito's first place, he really took great pains and did everything he could. I hope that the reward at that time will not disappoint him. In the following competitions, there was no more full scores like Obito and Kakashi, and there was no one who scored higher than Uchiha Tetsuka. The highest score was only 23 points. When all the contestants finished their performances, it was time to announce the rankings. Uchiha Obito first, Hatake Kakashi first, Uchiha Tetsuka second. The host announced the top 3. Miyu's suggestion worked. Obito and Kakashi tied for first place, which was considered a tie. You're lucky this time. I'll definitely beat you next time. Obito, who won the first place, excitedly said something harsh. When your strength is as hard as your mouth, maybe you can do it. In terms of sharp tongue, Kakashi at this time is far beyond Obito's reach. Fortunately, there is a reward for the first place. A beautiful silver-plated kunai, and 8,000 taels of banknotes. He can't argue with Kakashi, and Obito is also very happy to see the reward in his hand. At the moment when the ranking was announced, Obito's training task was also settled. Disciple Uchiha Obito's training task is completed, and rewards are obtained. Chakra plus 800, Ninjutsu Proficiency Scroll, Yin Attribute Chakra Nature Change, Proficiency. Seeing the rewards that popped up, Miyu showed a gratified look. Such a rich reward is worth his hard work for 20 days. If he goes to brush the class with 800 chakra, he will have to brush 40 B-level evaluations. The Ninjutsu Mastery Scroll is also a good thing. It can instantly upgrade the mastered ninjutsu to the mastery level. As for the Yin Ton Chakra Nature Change, it is the reward that Miyu is most satisfied with, even happier than the 800 chakras. The two special nature changes of Yin and Yang are very difficult to practice. The moment Miyu received the reward, his mind suddenly had many more memories of practicing Yin attribute chakra nature change. Miyu opened the panel and began to check his own data. In view of the additional chapters, can you give me some monthly tickets or something? Chapter 47, Panel Improvement. Name, Hanyu Muiu. Age, 18. Chakra, 8000. Skills, Professor. Fire Style, Head Hard Work. Palm Immortal Technique. Wind Style, Suppression. Earth Style, Earth Flow Wall. 8 Gates of a Ninja. Evaluation, you have mastered 7 types of chakra nature changes, and are proficient in Fire Style and Water Style. If you just fight against other ninjas, ordinary Jonin will be crushed by you. You only need to continue to increase your chakra to become a strong one. Compared with the time when the exam just ended last month, the panel data has ushered in another big increase. This month, because of the training tasks, the increase in chakra is particularly obvious. It was April when he traveled here. The total increase in chakra from April to May was 1000, from 4300 to 5300. Counting the 500 chakras from the exam in early May, it is 5800. From the end of the exam in early May to the beginning of June now, it has increased a lot, directly from 5800 to 8000. A total increase of 2200 chakras. Miyu once envied the 7000 chakra points of the root Jonin. In just the past 2 months, he has surpassed them. Now he has 1000 more chakra points than the root Jonin. However, Miyu knows that it is difficult to maintain this chakra increase from June to July. The reason why it can increase so much at once is because Obito's training tasks have been settled, and there are no new training tasks yet. There are no exams from June to July, and the final exam will be held in mid-July. In addition to the gratifying increase in chakra, Miyu also received a series of rewards such as Mastery of Water Attribute Chakra Nature Change, Mastery of Fire Escape Middle. Head Hard Work, and Proficiency in Yin Attribute Chakra Nature Change. These rewards are very helpful for Miyu to improve his hard power. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing to have only blue but no skills. Mastery of Chakra Nature Change of various attributes is the reward that Miyu wants to get most at present. After mastering the Mastery of Water and Fire Nature Change, not only the output limit of the corresponding attribute ninjutsu has increased, Miyu feels that if he works hard for a few years, he may be able to develop the blood limit of Boiling Escape. If he masters the Mastery of Nature Change of 7 attributes, Miyu dare not think about what he can develop. Hand rubbing Seeking Jade. Miyu thought about it and felt that it might not be possible. Mastery was not the highest level. It should be 1 level higher before it is possible to rub the Seeking Truth Orb by hand. However, even if it is impossible to rub the Seeking Truth Orb by hand, various bloodline limits should be developed. Obito, Kakashi, it's great that you got first place together. No Harlan smiled sweetly and congratulated Obito and Kakashi. Both of them are her good friends, and getting first place together is the best result. Hehe. Thanks to Lin for your support below. The fantasy scene 20 days ago happened. Obito was very excited and thanked him with a slightly red face. It would be better if Kakashi's name was not there, Obito added in his heart. Joint first place is Tai. Might Guy showed a thoughtful look. So far, he has lost in the battles with Kakashi, and has not won peace. Seeing that Obito successfully tied with Kakashi in ninjutsu, Might Guy was touched and wanted to fight Kakashi again. Kakashi, to celebrate your first place, let's have a fight. Might Guy was very motivated. I refuse. How can there be such a way of celebration? There is no need to celebrate for winning first place in this kind of competition. Kakashi rejected Might Guy and stepped on Obito. Obito wanted to have a verbal battle with Kakashi instantly, but he gave up when he saw Miyu and Asuma coming. Obito, did you hide secretly during the exams before, and suddenly you became so powerful? Asuma ran to Obito's side and patted Obito on the shoulder and joked. No. It's all the result of learning from you, Asuma, Obito replied. When he was practicing treading water, he relied on Asuma's example given by Muyu to persevere. Haha, I want to learn from you. You use fire escape so well. Asuma thought Obito was just flattering between friends, so he smiled and hugged Obito's neck. Teacher Muyu, no Harlan. Obito might guy greeted Muyu, who was walking behind. Because she often substitutes for the second class of the 4th grade, no Harlan is familiar with Muyu. You're doing well, Muyu encouraged with a smile, without saying too much, and soon left with Asuma. In fact, he had reminded the 3 disciples not to expose their relationship when there were other people, and just act like a teacher and a student in the school. Muyu didn't say the reason, and let the disciples fill in the blanks. Even so, Muyu felt that it was better to have less contact with others when there were other people present, and Obito at this period was really not very reliable. Before leaving, Muyu gave Kakashi an appraisal. Name, Hate Kakashi, Chakra, 2500, Potential, S, Evaluation, suitable for practicing lightning style and earth style, recommended to accept disciples. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book bar published this novel for the first time. Looking at Kakashi's panel, Muyu was instantly moved. At the age of 8, he had 2500 chakras, which was not ordinary. He had used the appraisal to look at the Chunin teachers in the ninja school, and most of them were around 1500 to 2500, which means that the 8-year-old Kakashi had already surpassed many Chunin in chakra. If he accepted a disciple and raised the trust level, the chakra provided would definitely not be less. Muyu quickly gave up this somewhat tempting idea. Kakashi was not as easy to fool as Obito. He was still a Chunin now, so why would he learn from a Chunin teacher like him? Kakashi is only S, so if he doesn't have the 6 paths bloodline, his potential is only S at most. Muyu thought of another question. He had used the appraisal to look at many people and knew that potential was not the same as talent. Otherwise, how could Obito and Might Guy have such a huge gap with Kakashi when they were both S potential in the ninja school, compared with talent? Muyu felt that potential represented a person's possibility. Those families with the 6 paths bloodline had greater possibilities, so their potential was relatively high. For example, Hyuga and Akaya, Muyu had never seen anyone with potential below A. Even with such high potential, there are no national jonins from both clans. The 2 gate gods of B were promoted to special jonins in the plot. After Muyu and Asuma left, Obito and the other 3 discussed and finally chose to eat ramen to celebrate. Because he won the first place, Obito treated them generously and said that he would pay for the ramen. However, when eating ramen, Obito and Kakashi were bound to argue. Have you ever been the first in the grade in the ninja school? Kakashi asked lightly. When can you maintain the first in the grade before graduation like me? Then come and argue with me about winning or losing. Obito was speechless. He really had never been the first in the grade, not even the first in the class. Might Guy stopped eating noodles. He was hit by Kakashi's map cannon because he had never been the first in the grade. At the same time, Muyu, who was teaching Asuma, was greeted by a system pop-up window. Chapter 48 New Training Mission. Disciple Uchiha Obito sets training tasks. Training tasks. Get the first place in the practical exam of the ninja school. Rewards. Depends on the completion of the task and the increase in strength during the task. Disciple Might Guy sets training tasks. Training tasks. Get the first place in the practical exam of the ninja school. Rewards. Depends on the completion of the task and the increase in strength during the task. Looking at the pop-up windows that suddenly popped up, Muyu fell into thinking. Although he didn't know what happened, the result was very good. With 2 training tasks and the reward for the test results, his chakra will definitely break through to 5 digits by the end of this semester. It's a pity that there will be no tie for first place in the practical exam. There will definitely be 1 or 2, and there will definitely be a task with a lower reward. If one of them has an accident and can't take the exam, will it be better to stagger it to the next semester? Muyu thought about this question seriously. Muyu hesitated a little. He was sure that he could do this well, but he couldn't guarantee that this was the optimal solution. Because there was no situation where two training tasks appeared at the same time, Miyu defaulted to one person at most one training task. If one of them was delayed until the next semester's monthly exam to complete the task, there would be almost 3 months in between when the new training task could not be triggered. Extending the mission time may increase the basic reward, but is it really as profitable as completing more training missions? According to the training mission triggering mechanism, it is not impossible for the disciple who got the second place to trigger another mission to get the first place immediately because he is unwilling to give up. Miyu decided to act according to circumstances and think about the next strengthening plan for Obito and Might Guy. After all, no matter what the result is, the reward for increasing strength will be greater, which is unchanged. On Tuesday morning, Hongdu hummed an unknown little song and walked towards the ninja school with a happy face. She took a leave of absence from school yesterday, Monday, and with the 2 days of the weekend, she had not heard Miyu's lectures for 3 days and had not played with her good brothers. So Hongdu was particularly looking forward to going to school today. Will teacher Miyu think that I am sick and then ask about my concern? I am really looking forward to whether Ziti Izumo has won the prize money for the competition. The more Hongdu thought about it, the more she felt that going to school was really promising. She must be Mitarashi Ako, one of the 3 talented people. Yes, I remember her. She was the second in the practical grade in the last exam. Second in practical grade, that's very strong, but it's a pity that her train of thought is a bit strange. Anko walked to the vicinity of the school. After more students came, she found that many people looked at her with strange eyes. Don't people usually ask for leave in the ninja school? Why did I ask for leave and spread the news all over the school? Anko thought it was because she asked for leave. Anko muttered as she walked towards the classroom of grade 1. The closer she got to the classroom, the more strange looks she found. She gradually felt something was wrong. When she walked into the classroom, she found something unusual. Gang Ziti and Shinu Izumo were not chatting, but buried their heads in the table as if they were sleeping. Usually when she came, the two of them either discussed how to deal with Gang Ziti's difficult cousin or discussed meeting girls. Anko was about to walk back to her seat to wake them up and ask about the situation, but she was stopped by a girl who had a good relationship with her. Hongdu, you have become famous in the ninja school these days. The girl covered her mouth and tried to hold back her smile. I haven't been in school these days. I can't become famous just by taking a leave, right? Hongdu scratched her hair, a little confused. Did you develop the ninjutsu that turned into a chair? The girl continued to ask, trying to hold back her smile. Change into a chair? Do you mean the jutsu to confuse the enemy? I guess so. I developed it with Ziti Izumo and the others, Hongdu replied. The girl couldn't hold back anymore and smiled. Haha, you should ask your 2 good brothers. Ziti Izumo, did you not sleep well last night? Hongdu, who was getting more and more confused, chose to wake up the 2 good brothers. But you can never wake up a person who pretends to sleep. The 2 seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Hongdu shouted several times but didn't wake them up. Normally, girls might forget it or poke them with their fingers at this time, but Hongdu was different. After confirming that the good brothers were pretending to sleep, Hongdu punched each of them. Are you hiding something from me? Hongdu said with a suspicious look on her face. The 2 who knew they couldn't pretend anymore also opened their eyes. It's all Ziti's fault. He made a fool of himself on the stage and dragged us along. Kamatsuki Izumo betrayed his good brother directly and told Hongdu about the weekend competition. He deliberately said our full names loudly. He deserves death. Kamatsuki Izumo and Hongdu stood together, angrily scolding Gang Ziti. Hard, fists hard. She said that it was impossible to take a day off and make such a fuss. It turned out that Gang Ziti made a fool of himself and betrayed her. Seeing Hongdu rubbing his hands, Gang Ziti quickly told her the brilliant plan of Kamatsuki Izumo yesterday. Hongdu, don't believe him. This Izumo kid has a rebellious mind. It was him who suggested to me yesterday that since Hongdu didn't come, he might as well put everything on you. You developed all the ninjutsu. Hongdu. She turned her sights to Kamatsuki Izumo. Her eyes were already full of murderous intent. Yesterday she was thinking about letting them win and get the prize money to treat her to dumplings. But these 2 good brothers are more capable of backstabbing than each other. You two are not good guys. Let's get beaten together. Hongdu grabbed Shinryu Izumo on the left and Gang Tsuchi on the right. The two good brothers were in the wrong, so they could only flee. For a while, the atmosphere in the classroom became more cheerful. It was not until Muyu arrived that the farce ended. Teacher Muyu, my reputation has been ruined. Now I am not a genius Hongdu but a talented Hongdu. Hongdu said to Muyu with a depressed face. Since you are not a mediocre person, everyone still recognizes your strength. Muyu smiled and comforted. The error-free version is available at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. I still think genius sounds better. Then prove yourself with your strength next time. Will I get dumplings if I do well in the exam? If I do well in the exam, okay. Hearing that there will be dumplings if I do well in the exam, Hongdu instantly swept away her unhappiness and smiled again. At this time, the class bell rang. Begin the class. Muyu started today's class. He patiently explained the 3 basic ninjutsu taught in the ninja school. Lecture completed. Evaluation. A. Reward. Water style middle. Water array wall. Under your teaching, the students of Class 1, Grade 1 have made great progress in ninjutsu and received a reward. Mastery of the 3 body techniques. The lecture was over. In addition to the usual lecture rewards, there was an additional reward that Muyu did not expect. It turns out that there are not only lecture rewards. Muyu was a little surprised. After teaching for more than 2 months, this was the first time he triggered this kind of reward. Although it was only the 3 body techniques, it was at least at the mastery level. It was not bad to teach the students of the ninja school without actual combat. Muyu thought about it and felt that it was quite reasonable. After all, this was a teacher system, not a simple master-apprentice system. As a teacher, he had been teaching a group of students. It was normal to give some rewards to the students as their strength improved. If I teach a slightly higher level ninjutsu, will the reward be better? Muyu first thought of how to increase the reward. The idea is good, but Muyu knows that it cannot be realized at present, because the rule of the ninja school is that in addition to the theory of ninja, the ninjutsu class can only teach the 3 body techniques. Muyu can understand this rule a little. There are 40 students in a class, and they are born with different chakra attributes. You can't expect a Chunin teacher to know 5 kinds of chakra attribute ninjutsu, and you have to consider the student's learning ability. This is no problem for Muyu, because he not only masters a lot of ninjutsu, but also has the blessing of teaching skills, and his own teaching level is also good. However, for his own safety, Muyu must not show so much. Maybe you can consider applying to the 3rd generation and let me teach the physical skills class of Class 1. Muyu feels that he can pay more attention to the teaching quality of non-disciples. He remembered that the students in Class 1 were not satisfied with the physical skills teacher, and often said that the physical skills teacher was not good and boring. If Muyu personally teaches the physical skills class of Class 1, the students' physical skills should improve faster. After dinner, Muyu returned to the office while thinking about how to improve the strength of Class 1. In the office, what happened last month was repeated. We are at a critical moment recently. Everyone should catch up every day, otherwise we will starve to death. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. How do you know I got first place? Ikugeya Young stood behind Kimura Sando with a smile on his face, rubbing his shoulders and back, and said in a flattering tone, "Shigato, lend me another 80,000 ryo. I'll pay you back when I get my salary." Kimura Shigato thought that if someone is too nice to you, he is either a traitor or a thief. This massage service is expensive enough. Why do you want to borrow again? Didn't I borrow it last month? Kimura Shigato sighed helplessly. Didn't I pay you back when I got my salary last month? Ikugeya Young laughed. Then you borrowed it this month, and you have to pay it back after borrowing it. Then because you paid the money back, you have no money next month. Do you have to borrow it again next month? Kimura Sando asked. If you think like this, He has become Ikegaiyong's 80,000 ryo. Ikegaiyong was speechless. It's not what you think, Shigato. It's mainly because we just met not long ago. I have to spend some effort to show my sincerity. I will definitely not lend it next month. Ikegaiyong tried to explain. You said it yourself, don't forget it. Kimura Shanron finally took out his wallet and took out 80,000 ryo and handed it to Ikegaiyong. He didn't feel bad about the 80,000 ryo, because although Ikegaiyong was not like a normal person when facing feelings, he was still a good person at other times and would not refuse to pay back the money. Kimura Shanron just felt that he was harming Ikegaiyong by lending him money, making him fall deeper and deeper. Not lending it next month, Kimura, you think too highly of him. I can already foresee his reason next month. I remain pessimistic about this. Then she imitated Ikegaiyong's tone and said, Shigato, just lend it to me for the last time. I feel that I can successfully confess this month, and I will definitely not lend it to you next month. Ikegaiyong, if it's the first date, it's understandable to go to a better restaurant to leave a good impression, but you have been together for 2 months. If she really cares about you, she won't refuse to eat ramen with you if you ask her to. I wanted to awaken Ikegaiyong's dormant IQ. And can't you choose a time by yourself? You always ask teacher Miyu to substitute for you. I said to Miyu who came in. She said she is not free at other times, either today or next time when she is free. Kaiguyong said with some pain. He was embarrassed to bother Miyu every time. Kaiguyong even wanted to substitute for Miyu to offset it, but was rejected by Miyu every time. It's okay, I'm idle anyway. Teaching more students can also exercise my abilities. Miyu walked to her desk and said with a smile, Teacher Miyu is really good, but this character is easy to suffer. Hearing Miyu's words, Kaiguyong couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Feeling a little indebted, Kaiguyong couldn't help but run to Miyu's side to help Miyu pour tea and water and say some nice things. Until the time was almost up, Kaiguyong left the office and went home to change clothes and prepare for the date. It would be great if Kaiguyong was the physical training teacher of Class 1, Miyu thought to herself. In this case, there is no need to change teachers. If Kaiguyong asks him to substitute for classes more often, it will be no different from being a taijutsu teacher. It is not common sense to apply directly to the third generation to become the taijutsu teacher of the first grade class. How can a normal person think of filling up his classes so actively? It will also cause problems with the character setting. If others ask you to substitute for classes, you help them, then you are a good person. What are you doing by taking the initiative to rush to class? It still depends on the dissatisfaction of students and the teaching level of the taijutsu teacher himself. Miyu thought to himself, the most important thing in a ninja school is strength. If students and school leaders know that the appointment of taijutsu teachers will affect the growth of strength, it will be easy to deal with. Then Miyu kept practicing calligraphy until the class was about to start. When Miyu walked into the classroom of the second grade of the fourth grade, the students were already somewhat accustomed to it. Miyu taught them once a week steadily, and they already regarded Miyu as their teacher. Obito was also late as usual. Miyu didn't say anything and asked Obito to sit down and listen to the class. Damn Mr. Ikegaiyong, Obito complained in a low voice, feeling that every time Ikegaiyong asked Miyu to substitute for the class, it was not the right time. Did you meet an old man who needed help? Nohara-rin asked. I didn't meet one today. I was choosing pens in the bookstore and forgot the time. Obito answered honestly. Why don't you choose after school in the afternoon? The lunch time is so short. You didn't miss your meal, did you? Nohara-rin was a little confused. It's okay to skip a meal. Just eat more at night. The main reason is that I've been visiting a lot of stores recently, and I feel that the one I had lunch with today is the best. Obito replied. Really? What can be more important than eating? I still have some snacks. I'll give them to you after class. Nohara-rin said helplessly. Obito nodded and didn't chat with Nohara-rin anymore. Miyu's class had to be attended. 40 minutes passed quickly. When the bell rang, Miyu announced the end of Get Out of Class, and Nohara-rin handed the snacks to Obito. Obito, how much did you help today? A classmate who was familiar with Obito came to tease Obito. How do you know I won the first place in the junior ninjutsu contest this weekend? Obito said preemptively. After Obito said this, the man couldn't say anything teasing, and felt like he had a lemon in his mouth. 8,000 taels of prize money. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book underscore bar. First published this novel. Akayachiyo, who was not far away, was also silent. He still remembered the great fireball that Obito used in the competition. He originally thought that with the lesson learned from the last competition, he might be able to beat Obito by paying attention to the great dragon fire next time. As a result, a junior ninjutsu contest made him lose confidence. Seeing the expressions of the people around him, Obito's smile became very bright. From then on, Obito would go out for a walk during each break, and ask everyone how he knew he was the first, to maximize the benefits of being the first. Lecture completed. Evaluation. A. Reward. Water style. Missed hidden technique. Seeing the lecture reward, Miyu nodded secretly. This is a ninjutsu that is not of high level but very practical. The fog created by this ninjutsu is not ordinary fog. It can blur the vision of the Sharingan. The mist hidden technique used by Midorumi can even hinder Madara's samsara to a certain extent. It is still very good in the early stage before the cheating ninja appears. After school, Miyu went directly to the South Forest. When Miyu arrived, Shisui was still practicing there. Shisui followed Miyu's advice and now has been studying with the shadow clone, and the main body is practicing with Miyu's shadow clone. Miyu didn't wait long, and soon Might Guy came. However, what surprised Miyu was that Obito didn't come 15 minutes after Might Guy arrived, because he often had to walk a distance with Lin. Although they were in the same class, Obito rarely set out with Might Guy, but it was rare for him to be late for more than 15 minutes. Miyu felt that she had to preach a little, so as not to develop the habit of being late for training. Sorry, Teacher Miyu, I'm late. Obito ran all the way to Miyu with a long box. Chapter 50. The First Gift. Obito panted heavily, then handed the long box in his hand to Miyu and said, Teacher Miyu, I heard that you like calligraphy, so I thought of using the prize money to buy you a brush. Originally, Obito wanted to buy a gift for Nohara-rin, but he thought about it and felt that this was not a good idea. He sometimes said things that were hard on the lips, but that didn't mean he had no idea at all. Without Miyu's dedicated teaching, would he have the ability to get first place? Not only did he get first place in the competition, he passed the theoretical exam for the first time, and he got rid of the title of last place in the practical exam. All these changes were due to Miyu's teaching. So in the end, Obito thought about it and decided to buy a gift for Miyu. Facing the long box handed over, Miyu swallowed the words of preaching. He took the long box, opened it and took a look, nodded slightly, then closed it and held it with his left hand, and helped Obito to calm down with his right hand and said, I do like calligraphy, and I am very satisfied with your gift. You should take a rest before preparing for training. The disciple gave him a gift, so he must give positive feedback instead of preaching according to the original idea. Judging from Obito's appearance, this might be the reason why he was late for class. He carefully prepared a gift for the teacher, but the teacher gave him a lecture. No one would be happy. Of course, you can also play a reversal, apologize and thank him after the training is over, and say that they were master and apprentice during the training and friends after the training. In this way, the emotions at the beginning will be aggrieved and resentful, but when the reversal is later, these emotions will turn into positive emotions, and the favorability will increase sharply. However, Miyu doesn't want to use this method now, at least today. After all, today is the first gift she received in the world. Teacher, it's good that you like it. I don't know anything about calligraphy. I just bought this pen because it looks good. Obito smiled. Then Obito took a few deep breaths, stood up and said, Teacher Miyu, I'm ready. Let's start today's training. Seeing that Obito was very enthusiastic, Miyu nodded, and then waved to Might Guy to come over. Next, we will start the training 3 weeks ago again. You should not have forgotten it, right? Miyu asked with a smile. Obito's memory gradually returned to the days before the special training for the competition. If you get hit, you have to do one more question. Obito, who was suddenly attacked by memory, had cold sweat on his forehead. He remembered he had been practicing the change of chakra control properties for more than 20 days, which caused him to forget what kind of hellish training he had before. I didn't forget it. If you miss, you have to do 50 questions. You can do one less question every time you hit, and you can do 40 less questions at most. Might Guy said after recalling. He might not be able to name the opponents of his practical test, but he still remembered the training plan. Obito can't use ninjutsu to fight. You have to do one more question every time you get hit. Might Guy gave Obito a thumbs up and said Obito's words. Obito looked at Might Guy's shining white teeth with tears in his eyes. Listen to me. Thank you, teacher. I find that I seem to have overestimated myself. How about taking a rest today? Obito sat down on the ground with his legs soft and said seriously, although it is good to become stronger through training, it is too uncomfortable to do questions. Let's leave it to him tomorrow. Miyu chuckled and said, rest. Of course you can rest, since you can't practice. Just concentrate on doing the questions. I have a lot of test papers here. Miyu took out a stack of test papers from the scroll. Then a medical miracle happened. Obito stood up quickly and said solemnly, a little discomfort is nothing. Teacher Miyu, I think I can hold on. Let's start practicing. Miyu smiled gently and said, don't force yourself. Rest when you need to. Thank you Teacher Miyu for your concern. But there is only 1 month left before the final exam. I want to take revenge on Hyuga Kuriman and I want to seize the time to become stronger. Obito's expression was firm. Miyu nodded with satisfaction, still holding the brush box in his hand, patted Might Guy's shoulder with his right hand and said, Gay, since Obito is so determined, you have to help him improve his physical skills. Might Guy straightened his body, showed a bright smile and said, Teacher Miyu, don't worry, I will definitely give 120% of my strength. Obito, who heard the conversation between the two, it seems that one of him and his brain must die today. Might Guy's words are not empty words. He said to give his all and he gave his all. While Obito was training for the game, Might Guy continued to exercise his body. Because of the system secret medicine, Miyu later increased Might Guy's training intensity. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus book _ bar released this novel for the first time. The hard training over the past 20 days has brought Might Guy a real physical improvement, faster and stronger. The results of Obito's special training are mainly in ninjutsu, but the current training does not allow the use of ninjutsu. As one side gains and the other loses, Obito is almost beaten unilaterally. Fortunately, Miyu's enhanced water treading training also trained his body skills, otherwise it would be even worse. This near-crushing battle also made Obito realize his own strength, because he won the first place in the junior ninjutsu competition, and tied with Kakashi for first place. Obito's mentality was a little floating, but after the battle with Might Guy, Obito found that even if he returned to the actual combat exam at this time, he could not defeat Hyuga Kamen. His ninjutsu power was stronger, but in front of Hyuga Kamen's soft fist and white eyes combination, his physical skills level was not enough to give him the opportunity to release ninjutsu. Relying on the combination of white eyes and soft fists, Hyuga Kamen only needs to have a slight advantage, and Obito will be defeated. The white eyes can see through the chakra points, and the soft fists block the chakra. Once you enter the rhythm of Hyuga Kamen, it is almost equivalent to losing. But these questions are so difficult. Looking at the questions in front of him, Obito, who was holding a pen, felt a little frustrated. He understood the principles, but it was really difficult to do the questions. Let's eat first. Miyu handed the lunch box to Obito, and then to Shisui and Might Guy. After tasting the food prepared by Miyu, Obito, who had lost all hope in life, instantly felt the beauty of the world and felt alive again. You gave your disciple delicious home-cooked food. The disciple is very grateful and rewarded with a critical hit, and gains chakra plus 100. The gift full of thoughts was praised, and the timing of the meal was an expected critical hit. Since Obito was hit too many times, in order not to affect the training effect, Miyu allowed Obito to do the questions in installments and did not have to finish them now. The next day, in order to better improve the strength of Class 1, Grade 1 and obtain more rewards. Muyu began his operation. Muyu first used the time of the ninjutsu class to conduct a practical test in the class, and then commented on and gave opinions one by one. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.